This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Very, 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 Mickey, 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 Pishy, Pishy!
You are listening to the Voices of Wrestling podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
X out and go listen to some boring podcast where they're afraid of their own shadow. Okay? Don't listen to Joe Lanza, because Joe Lanza's not changing.
And Rich Craich.
Give me a name. Like who delivers this guy in a big spot?
Joe, don't yell at me. I like
in the big spot, who delivers better than this guy?
Stop yelling at me. I agree.
Welcome once again to the Voices of Wrestling Flagship podcast. I'm Rich Craich alongside, as always, King of Banter, very good family man, Mr. Joe Lanza. Joe, what's happening? For the first time tonight, I'm asking that question for sure.
Now, I was wondering if you would pull the curtain back on our technical.
You gotta have to, because, you know, like, some people will just, like, act like it never happened before, blow through it or whatever, but I feel like you and I, we're so professional that we're like, I don't know, like, you'll see. Like, I feel like you can tell pretty early, like, Joe and Rich are being kind of weird, you know, pretty early on, because you'll be like, hey, Rich, did you hear about Hercules Ayala who passed away? And I'd be like, no, Joe, I hadn't heard it. Like, we're too fake when we try to, you know, do it again and roll it back. We're very much in the moment organic people in a lot of ways, which I think makes us great, but, you know.
Yeah, well, to catch everybody up, we did about 5 or 6 minutes of audio that did not record, which, I mean, anyone who does podcasting, that is a tremendous catch to catch it only 5 minutes in. I mean, we could have done 90 minutes. We could have done the whole show without the show actually recording. So to only have done 5 minutes is a godsend. As Rich just mentioned, on the first attempt at doing this show,
which was fantastic, by the way. We nailed the intro. Those first 5 minutes, impeccable audio, just unbelievable audio. But
was it great audio?
It wasn't.
It was all right.
We've had some lost shows that were certainly better than this one. So,
we talk about it all the time. I mean, there was one show that was
the
lost
chicken recipe show. I think was the all timer. Right?
How many times do I have to tell you that was not the chicken recipe show? It was that everyone heard the chicken recipe. It was the Slate Randall show.
Oh my God, that was great. Oh, Jesus.
Remember we did the whole bit on Slate Randall?
We did, yeah.
And that was lost. That was a great bit. But yeah, no, when we first started the show the first time, I had just discovered that the death of Hercules Ayala had been confirmed by his family. And Rich knew nothing of Hercules Ayala. And I had just been doing a brief rundown of Hercules Ayala's career. So we will repeat that now, and Rich will act as if he is being informed for the first time and is very impressed with this information, as he was 5 minutes ago. Isn't that right, Rich?
Absolutely. I cannot wait to hear, for the first time ever, a little bit of a career breakdown of Hercules Ayala. So please, go ahead.
Yeah, so Hercules Ayala, 69 years old. I believe he died of some sort of heart ailment. Rich could check that out as I'm talking. The one thing I remember about Hercules Ayala is growing up, he was a very impressive looking wrestler in the magazines because he had a great look. He had he's like a beefy body, best described as sort of the same kind of body type as someone like Taz, except he was significantly larger than Taz, taller and larger than Taz, but that's the kind of body type he had. Big barrel chest, thick dude. Rich, the first time around, said he sort of resembled Masa Saito in the face, which is very accurate. He always had that beard. He had those big bug eyes. He just was a scary looking, very physically imposing looking man who looked great in the magazines. As a kid, I would see him in the magazines and the aftermags, and he always came across to me as like a very dangerous looking ass kicker. And he worked in the Puerto Rico territory. The two names I associate with Carlos Colon have always been Abdullah the Butcher and then Hercules Ayala. So big star in Puerto Rico, main event level star in Puerto Rico during the peak of that territory when Carlos Colon was red hot, but not a guy who strictly worked on the island. He did work plenty of territories. I would say his next most prominent place was probably Calgary, and he was in Calgary around the same time as a young Bret Hart and a young Dynamite Kid and a young Davey Boy Smith. So sort of that peak era of Calgary that a lot of people feel was a great period of time there, early 80s, when all of those guys were coming up. That's about the time where he was in Calgary. And he also worked for Watts, Bill Watts, some. He was an early in his career. He was a WWF guy for Vincent J. McMahon as a prelim wrestler. But yeah, for sure, best known as one of the top names during the hot period in WWC in Puerto Rico, with guys like Carlos Colon, Abdul the Butcher, and all those dudes. So, yeah, a good career, a main eventer in Puerto Rico, and yet another significant, notable wrestling death in really what was an incredible string of deaths this month to start off 2020. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and you had asked in the prior episode about any sort of Japan runs. In 1984, he was there in April of 1984, and that was it. He did, looks like 19 matches in April. So he worked a very busy schedule in April, and then he was off and done, and that was pretty much it for his run in New Japan. So,
Did you say 84?
84, yes.
Yeah. So being a Calgary guy around that time, I would kind of figure that, he would have found his way to New Japan, once or twice in those days. I'm sure that was the connection. I'm sure he was there with a couple of the Hearts and maybe some of the other guys.
We have the guys that it looked like he teamed with a lot. Mike Sharp Jr., Mass Superstar. He was teaming with a bunch while he was there. That looks like, that's about it. And then he just worked a bunch of Bruce Hart. He's there with Bruce Hart for one point.
There you go.
Don Morocco, he's in there with Don Morocco a little bit as well. So
I was gonna say I'd be stunned if there wasn't a Hart or two.
Yeah, there you go.
On that tour with him, because I'm sure that the Calgary was, and Mike Sharp Jr. of course, that's Iron Mike Sharp.
Yeah.
So, So I'm not surprised at all that he popped up in Japan. Now, as far as if people want to seek him out, I mean, the Puerto Rico territory. I can't remember if this was on. Did I talk about this yet, or was this on the lost footage?
I don't think so, but keep going. But I don't believe so.
If I'm repeating myself, just stop me. But the Puerto Rico territory at that time was very much a hardcore territory, sort of ahead of its time in that regard in the late 70s, early 80s, because they like their ass kickers in Puerto Rico, walking brawls, guys hitting each other with 2x4s and barbed wire matches before it was really a worldwide thing, and those Carlos Colon bloodbaths, of course, with Colon against Butcher and Ayala and people like that. And so the Puerto Rico footage, if you seek it out, it's going to be a lot of brawling. It's kind of wrestling that the fans like down there. They like their bloody brawls, and they like people beating the shit out of each other. If you can find the Calgary stuff, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, I'm some sort of expert on Hercules Ayala's career in Calgary, but I know that he was there during a really good time in their history. So, but I don't recall any of his programs or who he worked with there or anything like that. To be completely honest, I mean, I've probably seen less than 10 Hercules Ayala matches in my life. I've definitely seen some of his stuff in Puerto Rico, but some of the other territories, I know he did. He worked. I'm pretty sure he worked for Watts and other parts of Canada too. He may have worked. Now that I think about it, are you looking at Cage Match? Did he work?
Yeah, I can. What
Quebec?
Let me find out here. Let's get out of the. Let's do all regions here.
It'd be mid to late 80s, maybe with.
Yeah, let's see here.
International wrestling is what you're looking for. I think that's what they'd call that territory. at that time?
That was like 86, 87, around that time. There it is. Yeah, here he is against David Schultz, going for the title. So 86, 87 in international wrestling.
Yeah, and again, I haven't seen a lot of this stuff. This is just from being, a 10-year-old kid, reading Pro Wrestling Illustrated when his mother is grocery shopping, and just eating that stuff alive. When you beg your mother to buy the magazine. Sometimes she would, sometimes you wouldn't. And if she wouldn't buy it, I'd just stand there and read it for an hour while she's growing. And just, you're trying to just absorb all of it, and that's how you learn this stuff. Back then.
I always feel bad that there's not children that are growing up now that didn't, because I was the exact same way. My mom would go, "Hey, I'm going grocery shopping. Do you want to come?" And I'd say yes. Every single time I'd say yes. We'd walk into the grocery store. She'd go do whatever the fuck she was going to do. And I ran right to the magazines, and I just sat there. And I hoped she took longer. I didn't want her to end, like, because the worst part is like she would come back. "Oh, I only needed a few things," and I'm like, "Ah, man." And then I'd be like, "Hey, can I get this magazine?" "No, you can't. I just bought your wrestling magazine." "No, that was WOW magazine, Mom. This is PWI or whatever." I would have to beg her, and she'd go, no, we're not doing that. And I'd be like, fuck. And then it was like, I only got through 10 pages of the magazine. I didn't get enough time to read it all. So, but yeah, sometimes they were there for a while, and that was the best. You look at the deli line, there's a long deli line. You're like, "Oh, I'm ready to go, baby. Here we go."
Yeah.
And just, like you said, kind of have to speed read and absorb every single thing you read from that, unless you maybe got that magazine the one time, and then those were the ones that you would memorize every little line of that entire PWI or whatever that you actually were able to take home. So
I would read those magazines 100 times cover to cover. I mean, because it's all you had, and it's and I'd go in the supermarket right to the rankings page, right to that rankings page where they get the top 10 in every territory, because that's where you'd see who was working what territory, right? And then you could see, you'd be like, this guy, Hercules Ayala, he's in fucking Canada now. What's he doing there? Or whoever. And in later years, maybe, you'll probably remember this, like when the territory started to die down, they had a little section in the rankings that were in even smaller print with all the little indie groups and the top 10 rankings from all the indies.
It was always Colorado Kid. It was always number one every time I looked at it. I was like, man, this Colorado Kid must be awesome. He was just always number one for some reason. Yeah, him and Donovan Morgan were always like, 1 and 2 battling it out. So.
And, I'd be like, I see that Tony Atlas is still dominating IWCCW.
Right.
It would always go right to the rankings, especially if I knew, my mother wasn't buying me the magazine that day, just to see where everybody was. So a lot of this stuff with a guy like Ayala, who never came in anywhere in my neck of the woods. He didn't work WWF in those days, and he wasn't working on TBS. A lot of my knowledge and just remembering where he worked is just, in my mind's eye, Rich, I'm seeing those rankings in like the magazines and seeing them in the rankings. And then, years later, as an adult, with the advent of YouTube and doing some tape trading, you pick up a match here or there. So it's not, like I've seen a ton of his stuff. I have a good feel for him because I have seen him wrestle. But he was just a big, imposing, scary-looking brawler. Just perfect for the 80s. He's an atypical 80, but... a lot of muscle, thick guy is the best. He had a thick physique. But, so I don't know. With that one tour, it's highly doubtful any of those matches made their way to New Japan World. I don't know if I'd necessarily look there if you want to watch the guy.
I did a quick YouTube search, and it looks like there's some pretty good stuff on there. Some of these I might actually want to check out here. There's the first result is Carlos Colon and Hercules Ayala, 1987, a fire match. So that right up my fucking alley right there. There's a Bruiser Brody Hercules Ayala match from 87 as well. That comes up right away. All I did was look up Hercules Ayala on YouTube. Texas Death Match between him and Cologne. There's a match with him and Randy Savage from 1985. That sounds actually pretty
from 85.
Yeah, 1985 from WWE's WWC. So I guess Macho went to
okay.
And then there's a February 1978 Bret Hart versus Hercules Ayala match.
That has got to be Calgary.
I believe so. Here, I'll look at it. Let me try to mute it so it doesn't.
78. Well, you know what? Bret Hart went down to Puerto Rico with Bruce, so it's possible that could be.
I'm trying to look at the makeup of the. This looks like a Calgary crowd. It does not look like a Puerto Rican crowd.
Yeah. So that could be either or.
Oh, this is a much different Hercules Ayala. He's got like a very nicely trimmed afro and like nice sideburns, and He's no scars, and yeah, he looks like just a.
Well, you're talking 1970s.
Yeah, he's just
a younger man.
Yeah, he definitely looks very like. Because I seeing the pictures of what he looked like in 1987, very, very different man at this point for sure.
Yeah, he hadn't got carved up yet.
Right. Yeah, he's tying Bret Hart in knots right here. So.
Yeah, I mean, so it looks like there's a good cross section of his stuff for sure. That Savage match is interesting because, in '85, that had to be early '85 because Savage was well on his way. He was in WWE by '85,
right?
So that had to be like one of the unless he was in WWF already and was still doing some Puerto Rico tours in between. That wasn't totally unheard of at the time, but
right. Yeah, let me see what the date of it is. March 2nd, 1985. When did I think he was still not quite there yet?
Yeah, it might have been the end of his pre-WWF run. You're right. It might have been the I'd have to look it up. But that's right around the time. Didn't he do a loser leave town with Lawler?
I believe so. Yeah. Let me see. I'm trying to do a little cage match here, so we're not just guessing at random here. Yeah. So he enters WWF. Jesus, I got to go through their insane house show schedule. So give me 1 minute. All right. So he enters officially in June of '85. Wow, and he wraps up June '85 actually in Kentucky with that loser leaves town match against Lawler, like you said. So he does that, and then 11 days later he shows up on Championship Wrestling in Poughkeepsie to start his WWF career. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's how guys did it then. There was no 90-day non-compete.
Nah, he's done. 11 days later, he's in. That's
yeah. You gave notice, and they would do a blow-off match if you were a big enough star. Even if you weren't, they do a blow-off match, and then there you go. 10 days later. I mean, a lot of times it wasn't even that long. They'd be in the next territory a day or two later. But that's a real interesting match against Savage at the very end of Savage's pre-WWF career.
Yeah, so it doesn't show. I can't find this match on Cage Match, so I don't know if maybe the date's wrong or it's just.
Are you talking about the Savage versus Ayala match?
Yeah, it's not showing up here.
I can tell you why. Cage Match is very sketchy with Puerto Rico results. I've noticed that through the years. So there's a lot of that. A lot of those results are missing. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna Cage Match is great, but wrestling, especially wrestling history in that era, it's so hard, and that's one of the blind spots where just a lot of those results are lost to time.
Yeah, so, you get a lot of the. I mean, especially in that area. I mean, the fact that we have as much as we have
is amazing.
Exactly, because like you said, a lot of it is just like one guy was at a show and maybe wrote it down, and they found his paper, or one guy took notes, or a guy from a newspaper, put it in that week's newspaper, or whatever. But a lot of times it was like a bunch of people went to a show and then they left, and nobody ever thought about it ever again. And it was and especially with they weren't memorable events, in terms of every Tuesday they came and ran the same show in the same day or whatever. How many people are cataloging it or logging it? So yeah, we I think take for granted a lot of how much we do have. And how amazing it is how much that we do have this catalog as much as we do. So,
yeah, unless there was one of the smarks of the era who happened to be at some of these shows who were going to send this into a newsletter or report it to a newspaper, it's lost to time forever.
Right.
So and that's one of the territories where there just wasn't great record keeping. And there's a lot of those. Japan was always meticulous with the record keeping because the newspapers and the magazines they covered it like any other sport. You know what I mean? They covered it like a shoot, and they covered it like a sport. So Japan, you really have impeccable record keeping, almost all the way back to the very beginnings of Japanese wrestling history. So in Japan, we're lucky. Mexico, there's a lot of people who have done a great job restoring a lot of that stuff, but a lot of that, I mean, there's so many shows run in Mexico City alone. It's just all that stuff's gone. In a lot of these territories, the results are gone, and the even the stuff that was taped, as we talk about, it was just taped over the next week, which is why a lot of the footage is gone.
Right.
They saved money. They didn't think it would ever be worth anything. So you'd shoot TV, and then the next week you'd shoot TV on the same tape just to save money and tape over the previous week. And if these promoters had known then what they know now, they never would have done that, because they all would have said, fuck, in 30 years, I'm going to be rich off these tapes, So yeah,
I'm always amazed. I'm always amazed, and this is a big reason why WWE is what they are right now. I'm always amazed that they kept as much stuff as they have. Like, Eric Bischoff comes into the company, or Eric Bischoff rises to power, and they're like, oh yeah, we have his demo tape when he's selling a broom to us, for his job interview, and it's like, why did you tape that? Why did you keep that? There's no reason to keep that. No sane person would say, you know what, let's keep all these announcer, trials just in like, nobody would ever have thought to do that at that time. And the fact that they did is ridiculous. It's amazing.
Nah, they were so forward thinking and keeping everything. And
everything. They have so much shit. And like, it was just, it would have just been as easy in 1987 to say, fuck it, who gives a shit about this, random house show in Boston? Like, who cares? But they kept it forever.
Yeah, and because their house shows were televised in 7 or 8 different markets: Boston, Philly, Washington, New York, LA for a while, Toronto, Maple Leaf Garden. We have all of that house show footage going back into the mid 70s, all the way into, when did they stop really airing MSG shows? Mid 90s, probably 96, 97, right? Or at least around that time is when MSG stopped airing the MSG. So, WWF has just, an incredible depth of catalog in terms of stuff, including all those house shows. And a lot of people lament the fact that what was probably the worst working territory for years was the one where we have
everything of theirs. Yeah.
But to me, there's still value in that. Like when I watch old footage, I'm not watching to see fucking 4.5-star matches. I'm watching for the historical purposes, to see what was going on. I think it's just so interesting to sit down sometimes when you have a couple of 2.5 hours to kill and just find some old fucking Boston Garden WWF house show from '86 and just watch it. I'm not mad if the matches aren't great, and you're pleasantly surprised sometimes. You get like a Hart Foundation versus Killer Bees match, or the Hart Foundation versus the Bulldogs, or a Randy Savage match against Tito Santana or somebody like that, and you are pleasantly surprised, and then you're like, wow, I wonder if they did this kind of match everywhere on the loop, and you gain a lot of respect for these guys who worked hard, because a lot of those guys did not work hard, as we know. But yeah, so anyway, getting back to Hercules Ayala, I mean, yeah, the results are going to be very incomplete for Puerto Rico. So I wouldn't, but 85. What'd you say? It was 85 the Savage match?
Savage, yeah. It says March 2nd, 1985 for the WWC North American Heavyweight title here. So
yeah, that's a match I would definitely check out. And that Bret Hart match sounds interesting too, from Calgary / Puerto Rico, wherever it was. You're saying Calgary though, which makes sense. But yeah, if he was a Calgary Puerto Rico guy around that time, it doesn't surprise me that he did that New Japan tour. But yeah, I think he was 69 years old, and I think it was a heart attack. So I wonder who we'll be talking about next week.
Yeah, hopefully nobody, but yeah. Oh, boy. Anyway, we got plenty to get to this week. We had a lot going on in the wrestling world this weekend. We got Royal Rumble. It's Royal Rumble weekend. We also have the NXT show, Worlds Collide. Not a takeover. It's a Worlds Collide show, not a takeover. NWA Hard Times as well going on this weekend. That's coming up on Friday, actually. I know there's been a little confusion there. That is on Friday. Worlds Collide's on Saturday, and Royal Rumble, obviously, on Sunday. Before we get to those, though, and do the previews for those shows, we do need to let you know some other news and notes going on in the wrestling world, stuff that we wanted to kind of react to and talk about. The first thing, and this kind of, I think this just dropped this morning, I want to say, this news came out the morning we're recording this, is that Kota Ibushi is off of the upcoming New Beginning in USA shows. He has influenza. So here's the exact word here in New Japan Pro Wrestling, posted on their website this morning, that Ibushi has contracted type A influenza, and as a result will not be able to participate in the tour, which begins Friday in Tampa, Florida. He will also be unable to attend the scheduled meet and greet in Miami. Information on refunds can be found, yada, yada, yada. A number of changes to the cards have taken place as a result of Ibushi's withdrawal. Most notably, Ibushi was set to face Chase Owens in a singles match on February 1st in Atlanta. We had talked about it a few weeks ago. That was a really cool spot for Chase Owens, and now that is done. He is instead going to face Rocky Romero. So still an interesting match, but yeah, not as high profile, obviously. Yoshihashi was originally set to team with Rocky Romero on the undercard. Will now face Mysterioso in a singles match. Romeo will also now be teaming with Roshi Tanahashi as the two face off against Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, which takes place on January 30th. And so that's that. So Kota Ibushi has influenza, will not be on this tour. And the real point that we wanted to bring up and kind of talk about a little bit is, man, these New Japan and USA shows between last year and the visa issues and now this Kota Ibushi thing, like these ones are snake bitten, man. These things are unlucky. I'd definitely be thinking, long and hard about these in the future, because man, it just seems like no matter what, something goes wrong with every single one of these shows. But yeah, what do you make of Bushi's illness and the changes that they made to kind of redo the cards a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the first couple of shows, he's in a bunch of multi-man tags, including the elimination match in Tampa. So those were easy changes, because all they had to do was also remove Jado from the other side. So if it was a 10-man tag, it's now an 8-man tag. If it was an 8-man tag, it's now a 6-man tag. So those were easy. Ibushi's not there, so you remove a guy from the other team. And in every instance, they just took Jado out of it. He don't want to wrestle anyway.
Yeah, he was fine.
But yeah, so the notable changes that you noted, so it'll be Rocky Romero versus Chase Owens, and they had to remove Rocky from a tag match, which was Rocky and Yoshihashi versus Mysterioso and Alex Coughlin. So it'll be Yoshihashi versus Mysterioso. So you get another singles match on that show in Atlanta, and then Coughlin is just off the show. So that's how they solved that. And then the tag match, which was probably Ibushi's biggest match on the tour, was teaming with Tanahashi against Guerrillas of Destiny. So again, they just they pulled Rocky Romero from his 6-man tag and stuck him in Kota Ibushi's spot. So it'll be Rocky Romero and Tanahashi versus Guerrillas of Destiny. And the 6-man tag was easy to fix, because they knocked Jado out of it, and that just becomes Finn Juice versus Chase Owens and Yujiro. So, I mean, if someone had to be pulled off the tour due to illness, I mean, this is probably, other than Tanahashi, obviously the biggest guy and the biggest loss. So this could affect the walk-up for sure, if people now know that Ibushi's not on the show. And these shows weren't exactly killing it anyway. Right.
I think that's a good discussion. I'm actually going to the Ticketmaster right now to look at how we're doing here. But some of the shows are doing okay, and then some are doing very, very, very poorly as we're kind of coming up here. I know that we're starting out in Tampa on Friday, and I thought that show, I think, was doing okay the last I saw. But there's a Miami show that looks like an absolute fucking disaster there. That's January 30th.
Well, we talked about that. Miami's gonna bomb.
Yeah,
I mean, we talked about that. That's a hard town for events, period, and it's not a very good show. And that one's gonna bomb tremendously. I think Nashville was doing okay. You said Tampa was doing okay.
Tampa was doing okay the one this week. Yeah, it looks like Miami's the first one that really stands out, is not looking great. And then what was the other one? Tennessee, I think, was the other. And I'll be honest, I don't really know about the Tennessee one. Yeah, the Nashville.
Nashville, I saw the chart. It's doing okay. Okay. It's like, it doesn't look like it's going to sell out, but...
Atlanta was the last one. I was trying to think of the one that I wasn't remembering. Yeah, so you have Miami on Thursday, January 30th, and then you start... which, again, like we said, Thursday, Miami, shit card. Like, there's a lot working against that show. That is not looking good. And then Saturday in Atlanta, I don't recall what that one was looking like, but...
That's the tour ender, right? With the tag title match? Yeah. So I mean, this will probably hurt walk up to some extent, I would think. And the tour wasn't doing great to begin with. It's like we said when they announced the cards. Okay, I think that these cards were fair cards for the building size, but the market was going to dictate whether they could continue doing that. And if they don't sell tickets, then they have to say, okay, well, even though these are only 1,000-seat venues, we need to give them better quality than 1,000-seat venue level cards, because it didn't work, at least in this part of the country. And I really feel bad for the people in this part of the country, because, again, they dealt with the tour that had the visa issues too.
Right.
It's just, this is just bad luck for those fans and for the company. I mean, they ended up getting Tracer X and Harlem Bravado last time, and,
That's...
just to have
Just
show
bodies. Yeah, they just need live bodies at certain points. So,
but and now they lose Kota Ibushi, which obviously again it's like Ibushi and Tanahashi were the two top draws on this tour without question.
right.
So, and we'll see what kind of cards they do when they do these tours that aren't a split tour. Remember, this is a split tour, so the crew is split. We weren't too hot on the idea of running these house shows. It's like, we'll see. I don't want to judge if this tour doesn't go well, which it looks like at best it's going to go fair. And at worst,
by the way, an update for
terrible.
Atlanta. I jumped into Atlanta. The floor is looking okay. There's one section where the entire first two rows are still available on the floor. The general admission, though, not looking great. There's a lot of sections still available. It's not bad. Like I would probably look at this and say, we're okay. We're not too bad. I would like to fill that one section that has nobody in the first two rows, or two spots in the first two rows are taken up, but the rest are available. But I mean, I wouldn't say a complete disaster, but not looking great. And the ticket prices are not. They're also not super, super competitive with like other stuff going on in the markets as well. I mean, talking about $200 ringside tickets, $50 GA and stuff. And it's like, oh boy, like that's a lot. I mean, we're used to paying $20 for our indie shows, $15 for our indie shows. So asking, 200 to 150 is really asking a lot. Even, I understand you're bringing some guys over or whatnot, but yeah, those ticket prices, I don't know if the prices really match the cards. And that's probably a big reason why a lot of people are.
That's a good point. The quality of the cards match the size of the venues. The ticket prices are very high. So, I mean, they're going to do decent gates just because, like, the ringside have done well in most of these cities. It's like you're saying the GAs are where they're struggling. And that's where you're going to get hurt with the walk-up if people are like, now I was so-so on this card to begin with, but now I got to pay $50 to sit in a shitty seat, and I'm not getting Kota Ibushi. You know what? I'm going to watch fucking a basketball game that night instead. So that's, I think, where they're going to get hurt. But we'll see. Miami looks like it'll bomb for sure, and the other shows will do fair at best and bad at worst. What you don't want is a bunch of unsold seats at ringside, but it looks like, for the most part, those $200 seats are all going to sell in these places. But I'm real curious what kind of lineups they do when they have the full crew over here. That's going to be interesting to me. Because, as we noted, these cards are a bit stronger than the kind of house shows you'd get in Japan. So is that going to, like, when the whole crew is here, are we going to get shows? I don't get the sense that they're just going to run a bunch of 6 and 8 man tags. And I don't think the U.S. market's going to accept that. I think the U.S. market is not going to accept shows like these random house shows they do in Japan where they're insignificant 8 man tags up and down the card. So I think they're going to have to do singles matches and 2 versus 2 tags like they did on this tour. But the quality will obviously be a little better because they'll have the whole crew to work with.
Right.
So, that I want to see. What a tour looks like. And especially if the venue side, I don't know do you have any clue? Like, they say they're going to run Texas. They say they're going to run the West Coast. I don't have any clue what the venues look like for any of those. None of us know, right? None of
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. And it might be dependent on how they do here. And if they go, okay, look, this size, this is it for us. So this is the highest we can go, or hell, maybe even smaller or whatever. I don't know what that's going to be. Or yeah, if these sold out in a minute, then maybe you go a little bit bigger. But I think they're probably testing their waters a little bit with this tour to see, okay, what kind of venues can we run? But like you said, it's hard to really make. And this has been the issue with New Japan and USA. It's like they're kind of just testing it out and always just kind of putting a foot in the water and then kind of, okay, no, do you want this? Okay, you guys probably want, you guys want American wrestlers? Okay, no, you don't. Okay, do you want like just straight house? Okay, no. Like they're having a little trouble finding that foothold and trying to figure it out exactly what the fans want and what people want to, spend their money on and what they want to spend and what type of venues and whatnot. And I think ultimately, and again, like I have no idea what we're going to see after these tours, happen, but I do think that I don't know if New Japan's prepared to find out what American crowds kind of want out of a New Japan tour in their country, because what they want is, like you said, they want big time singles matches. They want the G1, in Dallas. You know what I mean? Like, that's the sort of stuff that I think they're going to expect to get, and it's going to be always difficult to sell. Hey, here's the stars of New Japan in random tag matches. Like, that's always going to be a tough sell because that novelty is worn off after years and years of them coming with Ring of Honor and stuff. Because, like, yeah, the first show that I went to when I saw New Japan Talent, it was some random Global Wars show, and most of the guys were just in meaningless tag matches. But I didn't care because, oh my God, Okada's in fucking Chicago Ridge, Illinois. You know what I mean? Like, Tanahashi and Okada are facing off in the Frontier Fieldhouse. Like, this is amazing. This is unbelievable. But that was 4 years ago at this point. And it's like, I've seen those guys now live 4 or 5 times in just random tags. So I don't know that the American audience is just going to say, oh, cool, the stars of New Japan are coming to my town. Like, that's not enough. I think there's always going to be that little bit more. And I don't know if New Japan's prepared to give people really what they want in America, because it's going to take a lot more of, you know, kind of breaking from their tradition as well. And it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle that.
Yeah. I mean, they did some singles matches here, but they're all with a star on one side and a low prelim guy on the other, which doesn't really affect, you know, the kind of booking they like to do, because the outcomes are pretty much obvious. There's a couple matches there that can go either way. But, you know, it's like Kota Ibushi wasn't going to lose to Chase Owens. You know, Lance Archer's not losing to Ren Narita. So it's like, yeah, I really don't believe, and I think that's their admission that, okay, we do have to run these shows a little bit differently in this market. I just don't think American fans are going to go to shows with a bunch of 6-man tags. I don't think American fans are going to buy a ticket to an LIJ versus Chaos fucking 6-man tag main event. I think that you got to give them some singles matches. You got to adjust for the market, and now what they've learned is, okay, maybe we need to bite the bullet and give them slightly better singles matches. And I think the idea they had last year with doing the Tomohiro Ishii Yuji Nagata match in America was a good one, because that's not the kind of match where you're burning something important off for Japan.
Right.
But it's a really good match, you know? And I think that's where guys like Nagata and Kojima become valuable to them.
Yeah, because they're stars and they're still unique enough. And yeah, you can have a random singles match between Tanahashi and Yuji Nagata. You know, just to throw out 2 names there. That, like, again, you're never going to do that in Japan. It's never going to matter in Japan. It's never going to matter for anything other than maybe like a random G1 or a New Japan Cup, you know, opener or whatever. But like American fans, that'll seem, okay, Yuji Nagata's a legend and Tanahashi's a legend. That's cool. I'll go watch that, man. Because that's a match that I'd buy a ticket to see.
That's got some appeal.
It's unique. It's different. You feel like you're getting a big time match between 2 all-time legends or whatever, but it doesn't blow anything. That's gonna be the issue. Is like, you don't want to have Kota Ibushi versus Hiroshi Tanahashi on these shows because you want to save that for Japan, and like, how much do you want to burn that for America? And that's going to be that delicate balance for them. So I'm right with you. This is where those guys that, you know, are just sitting around there and maybe not doing much. Your Kojimas, your Nagatas, even Tanahashi this year, if he gets kind of winded down a little bit, he's still super valuable in a singles role. Those guys now all kind of have to step up and do singles matches, I think, to really boost this a little bit. But even then, you're going to get a few years out of that, or maybe a year out of that, and then it's like, okay, what's next? You know, what's that next wave? Who are these new people? And at some point, you're going to have to get to the, you know, having important matches, having title matches, having never before seen matches, having important matches on these shows, and I don't know if they're prepared to do that.
Well, you know, they're doing a 1 tag title match too. I think if they just bump it up a little and do, like, you know, I think if they did a show with Tanahashi versus Nagata and like Kojima versus somebody, Tomohiro Ishii or something,
mm-hmm.
and then you throw in a tag title match with Finn Juice, you know, I think that would have probably sold out any of these buildings with the possible exception of Miami. You know, because people are like, wow, you know, there's some appeal there, you know, and that feels like it's bigger than just a house show. These, even with the singles matches and even with the 1 title match, they still feel like house shows. The quality uptick isn't quite enough, and the ticket sales have shown that. And those 3rd-gen guys that can still go, like Nagata and Kojima, throw Togi Makabe in there, I think those guys are the perfect guys to bring over here and put into singles matches. And use, you know, throw those guys random US or never title challenges. You know, and those guys are going to lose, but those feel like bigger matches, and they would make these shows not feel like house shows. I think that's the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Make them feel like they're... Yeah,
that's the answer, as opposed to, here's a LIJ versus Chaos 8-man major show, semis or main. You can't do that. That's stupid. But when you run Long Beach again, absolutely you run, money matches. And they have. I don't think there's any complaints there. But these shows, they really need to figure out how to balance all of it.
Even more in America than he is in Japan, and that's maybe not entirely fair, but like American fans really do gravitate to Ishii. He's a guy that really does jump out, and people know him, and he's a very, talk to anybody who even casually or hardcore watches, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Ishii's a guy that they really, talk about and a guy they love. He's a guy I think they could utilize in big-time singles matches as well, and it's a big reason why I think they've really done a bad job with that U.S. title as well, because I think that U.S. title, the idea was that it be important enough that you can have it main event these shows and it feel important and it feel like it means something, but they really, I don't know, for whatever reason, they just haven't really gotten on track with the U.S. title, and they did it a little bit with Jay White and Cody, and they kind of had the wrong idea about who should have that U.S. title and how it should be defended or whatnot, and we're seeing kind of it right now. Like, I think that would be a great asset to have is somebody like a Tomohiro Ishii is that U.S. champion or whatever and goes to America and defends it or whatever. There's ways to do that where you still feel like you're getting an authentic experience, but at the same time, you're not blowing anything that you would really in Japan. But yeah, Ishii's a great name too to bring up too. I would add Ishii with that Nagata and Kojima as well, as a guy who maybe doesn't get the big time singles matches in Japan all that often, but could do that very much in America if he's willing to come over.
And I mean, just look at the way, like, when Ishii would go to Rev Pro, he was a main eventer.
Yeah, right.
Because that's exactly what you're talking about. These other markets see him as a bigger star than he is used than the reality really is in Japan. And as far as the U.S. title, maybe that is the plan moving forward, to center these tours around the U.S. title. But, and to sort of make a smooth transition into our next discussion, but maybe they found out that Lance Archer is leaving, and maybe that's why Jon Moxley is the U.S. champion. I mean, that's entirely possible too, because Lance Archer is on every show of this tour in singles matches. So isn't it entirely possible that their plan was to headline, or at least build the tour to some extent around Lance Archer and the U.S. title, but then he let them know, hey, I'm making this move to AEW after I fulfill all my commitments to you. And then they said, all right, well, now we got to get the title off of this fucking guy in the Tokyo Dome. Do you think there's a possibility that that's the case? Because it is interesting that he's on this tour, but that for some reason they put the U.S. title back on Moxley.
Right, and that was a surprise to us even at Wrestle Kingdom, because it was like, okay, the two guys that you're probably going to want to have do that because they can wrestle in America for you in the Japan America is either Juice or Archer, and neither of those guys won. Like, none of us guessed that Moxley would come out of there, because then you don't get to use that title on this tour. So it's definitely a good thought there. The reason we're bringing that up here, Sports Illustrated, Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated, this is an article earlier this week. He said, quote, All Elite Wrestling is expanding its roster. Another potential acquisition for AEW, Sports Illustrated has learned, is New Japan star Lance Archer. Multiple sources close to AEW confirm that Archer is in high-level talks with the company. He is currently scheduled to run New Japan's tour of the United States, which begins Friday in Tampa and runs through February 1st in Atlanta. So it's kind of weird there. It starts out with expanding its roster, and that's mostly kind of wrapped around in the Brian Cage story, but they in a way they kind of tell you, in that writing, that they think Lance Archer, that sources close to them are saying Lance Archer. But what have we heard? What do we think? What's our kind of guess? You're right that his placement on this tour is a little weird, and the fact that he isn't the U.S. champion in this tour is a little weird as well, because obviously, again, you want that U.S. title to be defended on these shows, but you give it to Moxley or Moxley walks out with it, so you can't really do that. But I don't know. What do you make of Archer not being the guy and Archer not having that title? Because you could have just as easily given it to Juice too, but then you have the double Juice championship. And it was all clunky from the beginning for this. But yeah, what do we make of these Archer rumors first and foremost?
Well, I mean, this is all just conjecture, but I think Finn Juice is defending the tag titles on the tour. So again, this is all just speculation for me. And Archer's working a bunch of singles, including shooting a little post-match angle with Yoshihashi in Japan to set up a match against him in the U.S. So it's just me kind of thinking a little deeper on it. Okay, well, maybe he informed him he was leaving, and maybe that Yoshihashi match all along was intended to be a U.S. title match, which would have been the perfect kind of match to headline an 800-seat building.
Right, par for the course. They've done that before, too. I mean, God, we've seen Kenny Omega, come over and have a laughable, U.S. title match against Yoshihashi. So, yeah, it makes sense.
I think that was a Ring of Honor match, but your point stands.
Right.
But the idea being that, like, Lance Archer defending the U.S. title against Yoshihashi in the main event spot or the semi-main event spot of one of these shows, it fits too well. But it's like, because, look, I don't know how you want to kind of tackle this one, but look, it's no secret that AEW had been pursuing Lance Archer. We have known that since the summer. And since really, around G1 time, when he really started to break out as a singles guy, there was a lot of talk, that AEW was hot on his trail. Then it quieted down for a while. He has never been under New Japan contract. I mean, that's something we've talked about for years, but that's something that he talked about publicly in an interview with I forget who, where he said, yeah, I've just been tour to tour, all these years. They've never signed me to any kind of deal. So that, was put out at some point last year. That became official when he basically said that on record in an interview, but we've been telling people that for years. So
that was Fightful. That was a Fightful interview, by the way.
Fightful,
I'll give him credit for that. So, because it was very good. Yeah. That was an insightful interview. They got a lot out of him, and he's not a guy who really gives a lot very often. So yeah, that was a good job out of them.
No, he's not. He's very tight-lipped. He doesn't like to discuss. He's. Let me put it this way: he's not the kind of guy who is a quote-unquote dirt sheet source. Trust me on that. He just isn't. That's not his MO. He doesn't like to discuss stuff like that. Is that fair enough to say and just leave it at that? It's just not really his thing. I mean, that was very revealing for him to admit that in that interview. But not being under contract, he's free to sign with whoever he wants. I mean, and he's also not the kind of guy who's just going to, if New Japan hasn't booked for this tour, and even if they have him booked for something, he's going to complete his obligations. But look, it wouldn't stun me at all if he signs with AEW, because I know that they've wanted him, and it's obviously money talks, and if it's a good deal for him, he's going to take it, and he's has every legal right to take it, not being under contract. But I'm personally 50-50 on these reports, in that I wouldn't be surprised if there's validity to them, but there's minor details within these reports that raise little mini red flags for me. Just knowing his personality and things that he's willing and not willing to reveal over the years. I don't know. Rich, I'm trying to be careful here. I got you.
Yeah, no, I mean, that we kind of picked up on was kind of like, oh, I don't know. And it was like, well, okay, I think we'd feel more comfortable if we had answers to those questions that we asked. And there's nothing really specific. It's just things.
This from him. Okay? Go ahead and read the article. It's
sources close to AEW. Yes.
And we know who those sources are. Okay? I'll just say it. And I'm just saying, the story did not get to Barrasso from Lance Archer. And Barrasso says that right in the piece. So but it's important to make that distinction, because he's not, again, at least in our experience, he hasn't been the kind of guy who's been real loose-lipped about discussing. Okay, I can give one anecdote. This one I can give. Okay, probably about 3-4 years ago, there was talk that Killer Elite Squad was on their way to All Japan. Do you remember this, Rich?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
This was not a public thing, but there was talk, chatter among people that they were on their way to All Japan, and it sounded suspicious to me. So I went right to Lance. You remember? And he kind of laughed it off, but again, was very ambiguous.
Right.
In his response.
A lot of winky faces, winky face emojis or whatnot, where you're like, what does that mean? Is that good? Is that bad? What is that? Yeah.
He's just not a guy who it's like that stuff is closed off. He's old school. He protects the locker room, and his response was like, rumors and wrestling, that kind of thing. But it was ambiguous. So we went to Davey Boy. And Davey Boy was like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? I'm not talking All Japan. So then I was like,
yeah, Davey is not ambiguous. Usually you ask and answer with Davey Boy Smith, which is interesting. Yeah.
His first response, I believe verbatim, was HUH question mark. He was like, huh? And then I explained further. All right, well, we heard that you guys are making this jump to All Japan. And then he responded back and was like, well, I've never talked to All Japan in my life. I don't know I have no idea what you're talking about. And the conversation ended up becoming very awkward because he had no clue what the fuck we were talking about. And then I was like, yeah, there is nothing to this.
Right. And also we got the, hey, who told you this? And we're like, gotta go. Bye.
It's like, that's like the point I'm making here is the All Japan story was utter nonsense. There was zero basis to it. It was just a rumor that somehow got started that who knows? Things get started. There's rumors that we get rich every day.
It's the pro wrestling industry, for God's sakes. Like one guy says one thing in a locker room and it just gets passed around and passed around. It's the game. It's the biggest game of telephone is the pro wrestling industry. Is every minute of every day there's a rumor going around that just gets moved on from room to room, person to person. Now, especially DM box to DM box. Like, yeah, things go wild. So.
Or one fan just has some conjecture and people treat it as, oh, well, this fan is connected, so it must be. And you know what I mean? And it just goes from it. Who knows? But my point here that I'm making with this anecdote is even with a story that was complete bullshit, like the All Japan story, is Hoyt was still very ambiguous with us. Eventually he shot it down, I think, but after a lot of prying. And so my point here is, with something like this, where if it has validity, he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who's just going to be very loose-lipped and sharing all of the there were so many details in this Barrasso story that raised red flags for me, you know, and some of the other details that are going around that I'm like, I don't know if he would willingly tell people some of the things that are going around in regards to some of the details of the story. That's all. That's why I say, would it surprise me at all if he's going to AEW? Not at all, because they've been talking to him. There's been interest since the summer. That is a fact. But where the story and how Barrasso got it, and the fact that it didn't come from Archer himself, and the fact it didn't come from Archer tells you, kind of backs up what we're saying about him as a person and his personality. You know, he's not someone who is discussing things with the media, and particularly with the quote unquote dirt sheets and whatnot. It's just not his MO.
Right.
So we'll see what happens with that. But if there is validity to it, it could explain why he's not the U.S. champion and why that title isn't being defended on this tour, and why they may have just said, all right, you know what? We'll just put it back on Moxley if this guy's leaving. So, but that's just me. I don't know. I'm just connecting dots on that. And we should say, we haven't spoken to Lance Archer about any of this.
We have no clue.
I mean, he wrote the book forward, so we should say that, I think. But it's like, I don't think we've spoken with him since he wrote the book forward. I think that's the last conversation.
Yeah, the last conversation I think was, hey, thanks and appreciate it and have a good one. You know, Merry Christmas or whatever. I think was the last message I sent to him. So that's it. Which would, if he does leave, it'll be two straight authors that have made their way to AEW or left New Japan. So if you're trying to leave, let us know. We can maybe help facilitate your move to the next level.
Or if you guys want someone to leave, then tell us who you'd like us to hit.
If there's a particular wrestler that you hate and would love for him to disappear from New Japan Pro Wrestling, just let us know. We'll work at the DM box and see what we can do right away. So we
should really. Never mind. I would. Never mind.
No, go ahead. No, come on.
I'm not gonna do. What I was gonna say was we should really get Bad Luck Fale to write that forward.
Oh, I will. You know what? Not a bad idea. Let me jot that down.
The thing about it, though,
is the underboss is interested.
Here's the thing. His presence doesn't offend me anymore because they don't really feature him at all.
No, he's just kind of a dude that comes out and he's just kind of a lump of shit, and then he leaves, and then you don't really like. He's not in those main events with Okada anymore. He's just like a lump of shit that comes in and like what was really bad is like the G1. Like I don't want to see him in the G1 this year. If he's not in the G1 this year, then I have no issues with Bad Luck Fale wandering around whatsoever. But that's the thing that gets me is like if he's in G1s, I'm like no, you're taking up a spot that could be used by anybody else. So that's my only little bit of a concern is that, he takes up that spot. But otherwise, 11 months out of the year, I don't really give a shit. He just comes out and I'm like, oh yeah, Bad Luck Fale. And then he's out and I'm like, okay, cool, thanks, bye.
He shows up with his cigar and
because I don't give a fuck t-shirt. And
his t-shirt that says he doesn't care. And basically his pin me, pay me Job Squad t-shirt, which he was wearing for a while. What did his say? It said something like, remember Remember the old Job Squad T-shirts that Al
Yes,
Snow
yeah. Oh, of course, yeah. Well, he had the "I don't care, I don't know, I don't care, I don't give a fuck" shirt. That's what he was wearing a little bit earlier this year. But yeah, he's got the other one. Yeah, it was like what was that shirt? It was a pin me, pay me type thing.
It was, and it pissed me off because I don't like that shit. Like, it's like we all know the deal, but you don't have to rub our faces in it. I don't like the Job Squad stuff. Bothered me. The whole era bothered me, and that shirt when he wore that, it really fucking bothered. And I think I went off on it on this show.
You did, yeah. I can't seem to find it right now, and unfortunately, it's not a lot of searches for Bad Luck Fale coming up here. But I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, I remember what it was. It was annoying as hell. So
yeah, we get it. It's a work, but you don't have to rub our face in it and tell us that you don't care about losing matches. That shit bothers me. When I sit down to watch a fucking 3-hour New Japan show, I want to get lost in the fucking suspension of disbelief. Is that too much to ask? Can I suspend my disbelief for 3 hours without you telling me that that you don't give a shit that you're losing matches? I mean, that really fucking annoyed me.
So there's 3 here that I don't know if this is any of the 3 that you got upset about. There's one that says "No jobbers, no wrestling." There's another one that says "Make jobbers great again." And then there's the many emotions of Bad Luck Fale, which is just him making the same face as it says.
Yeah, it's they're just so cutesy and inside, and I hate that shit. Don't wear that shit in the ring. I don't even have a problem with those shirts as long as you don't wear them into the ring. Do not wear a shirt into the ring in New Japan Pro Wrestling that is ironically fucking addressing the fact that you're a fucking jobber. I hate that shit. That shit is for the US Indies. That's not for New Japan. You want to wear that shit on a redacted show? I'm not going to say the names of any of these fucking promos. Then that's fine. Okay? Don't do that in New Japan where I still kind of fucking one of the last places where I can sit down.
the last bastion. Yeah.
Yeah, and watch a wrestling show and actually give a shit about who wins and loses and suspend my disbelief. Do it against you want to wear that shirt against fucking Tooth Guy in some fucking cornfield somewhere? I don't have a problem with it because I don't take that shit seriously anyway, and neither do any of the people there. They're there to see that fucking irony shit. But I don't want that. It really bugged me. As you can see, I'm standing up and I'm fired up
like
again about
3 years ago, and it's just bothering you all over again. I love it. Yeah, it's.
Fuck, man, that fucking bothered me. I don't want it. Look, if he wore that shirt. If someone wore a shirt like that on a fucking blood sport show, I'd be just as pissed off.
Yeah, exactly. No. And I'm right with you, man. I did the profile for him in the ebook this year, and he had the I don't know, I don't care, and I don't give a fuck. And I basically just said, I really hope New Japan replaces you with somebody who knows, cares, and gives a fuck, because I don't really want to see you. I don't want to invest. It's a company that invests itself and takes itself so seriously and prides itself on the in-ring work and prides itself on all these sort of things. And you got a guy out here who is wearing a shirt that says, "I don't give a fuck," and it's like, fuck off then. All right, go away.
Yeah, go do spanking spots with Dan the Dad. I just leave me alone and get out of the
That's
fucking
great book. I would not mind Bad Luck Fale in Irony Bullshit Wrestling in 2020 would actually be all right. I think I'd be okay with it because I wouldn't watch any of it, but I see a GIF or two and go, "Oh, that's hilarious," and then move on. But
or just hang out in your dojo with the Wheelman and pump out your trainees. I don't have a problem with that either. Just the t-shirts though. Yeah, that shit really rubbed me the wrong way. Anyway, that's the anything else on these New Japan shows? Or?
That's it. Yeah, we're gonna see how it goes this weekend. We'll keep an eye on these. I have no idea if it's hard to find out if and when these are ever going to show up on New Japan World. I know the ones from last year showed up like a month later at the point where like I don't think I watched any of them because I know there was some good stuff on those shows, but yeah, a month in our world is 2 years basically at this point. God, Wrestle Kingdom was what 20 days ago, Joe, and it's like it feels like another universe, Wrestle Kingdom. So yeah, it's like I don't know when they're gonna show up. There's nothing on the schedule yet for them, so I'm sure they'll pop up at some point. But yeah, who the hell knows? So
can you believe they had an entire tour since Wrestle Kingdom? I mean, they did.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy. They're starting their second tour since Wrestle Kingdom.
By the way, before we move on, how much of Fantascomania did you watch?
All I saw was the first shitty show from Osaka. That's it.
Okay, I did a review for one of the shows, and I will tell you, Joe, and you're not going to believe me. You're not going to believe me. Okamura and Stuka Jr. is fantastic.
I'm
not lying. Ricardo Gallegos, who does our reviews for Fantascomania 2, he will back me up. And he is not a man who will lie. He's a very truthful, very, very trustworthy man. He will agree with you as well.
He's great,
Striga,
man.
Alan Forel said, "No way." Yeah. And Striga came to my back and said, "No, Alan, I'm telling you, It's like you can't describe it, but you got to see it. I'm telling you, you will love that match. You will love it. Okamura and Stuka Jr.
He worked hard.
He worked his ass off, Joe.
Stuka Jr. fine. I mean, I can buy it.
Yeah, I was surprised too. That match, it was going on, and I'm working on something else. I have it on in the background, assuming, this is going to be... And I look around, and they're just bumping their asses off, flying all over the ring, doing shit. I'm like, what is going on here? What the hell is this? And I just got enthralled, man. It was so good. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable how good that match was.
Did Stuka do the backwards trust fall dive from the turnbuckle to the outside the ring?
He did like 5 spots here.
I love that spot.
God, dude. I was like, how are you walking?
Yeah, I mean, he don't look like a fucking prime athlete.
No, God, no. Yeah, that's what I said. I tried to find the nicest way to say he carries a lot of weight. Like, because when he falls, there's like this noise. Because like he's doing falls that like, you know, little guys will do all the time. Like Robbie Eagles will do those same spots, and it's like, all right, yeah, Robbie Eagles just did it. But like he lands, and you just hear like a boom, like on the ground, and the whole Corkin Hall's like shaking because he's a large fella and he's doing these moves. Yeah, I'm telling you, Joe, fantastic match.
I know his spots. Cubs fan and Rob Viper are going to be proud of me. I know his spots. I know.
See, Rob Viper didn't believe me. Rob Viper didn't believe me that it was a good match. So.
Yeah, I watched a lot of fucking Lucha last year, and I know I didn't talk about any of it on the show. But my God, did I watch a shit ton of Lucha. I watched more indie Lucha than most of the humans on Earth last year. Rich, you want to know about fucking Arez and Latigo and Aramis? I could tell you about Arez, Latigo, and Aramis. Believe me. Those 3 guys must have wrestled each other 1,000 times in various combinations. Throw Laredo Kid in there, too. I need a little break from the indie. I got to take a couple months off from the indie Lucha. I'll get back in if there's interest in. But my God, I watched so much. I watched more Lucha last year. Here's a funny thing. I watched more Lucha last year than I've probably watched since I was fucking way into like tapes in like when AAA was hot in like 94, 95 when I was getting all those tapes. Probably watched more Lucha than I have in how long ago? It was 25 years ago, I guess. And almost none of it was CMLL. How crazy is that? Between the indie Lucha and AAA and fucking the junkyard Lucha until I got tired of it because it was so fucking repetitive. It's like CMLL was like barely. I watched all the Cavernario matches that people recommended, and that was about it, you know, and maybe a couple other matches here or there. But it's just crazy that in a year where I watched more Lucha than almost ever, and maybe ever, so little of it was from Arena Mexico.
Yeah, they had a weird year. They've had a weird few years as well because there was, you know, a time when we were doing the show where like CMLL was like blowing away AAA. Like it was like one of the, I mean, it got votes. It was, you know, in Match of the Year, it was always, you know, right there. It was like the best represented Lucha promotion. And now, yeah, like we're going through Match of the Year right now, and ballots are coming in, and like, dude, there is no CMLL right now. Like, I don't know if there's a new guy who's gonna, there's some guy who's about to vote with, you know, 10 straight CMLL matches, but right now, he might be the first 10 CMLL matches as far as I can tell. I don't think there's been a single one, and there's been a lot of other Lucha, you know, represented, but yeah, not a single CMLL match. So I don't think you're alone in the people not watching CMLL at all. It is out of sight, out of mind right now, it seems. So it's pretty crazy.
I'll give people one quick one if they want to watch. Titan versus Templario from the 5th of January. It's a lightning match. Good little match. You want to jump back into CMLL?
And that's this year? That's 1/5 this year?
Yeah, January 5th this year.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, cool.
Titan Templario. I reviewed it behind the paywall. Patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling. If you want to read the review of Titan versus Templario. I also talk more shit about Gato Move in that review. So
get a few more people mad, yeah.
Yeah. All 17 of the Gato Move fans could get mad at me again. You know, for making fun of the dopey wrestling and the dentist.
Look, if they throw the $5 down, they can threaten you all they want. So
yeah, absolutely.
Just pay the $5 and then, you know.
Do you know what else I reviewed in that same review? Did you even know this existed? You know Masashi Takeda had a death match in Brick, New Jersey against something called Brandon Kirk.
No, I didn't. Oh, you know what? I saw that link and I was just like, what the hell? And I looked and I was like, man, that looks like an arena in like America. I assumed it was like a Japan thing because I remember that link going around and I saw that link and yeah, the arena looked, there was like visible basketball hoops or whatever, and it looked like a shitty, dingy, like, you know, basketball arena park district building around here. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense because that dude was in Japan like all of early January. So did he fly over for that one thing and then fly right back?
Listen to this. You're never going to believe this. He worked 0-1 on New Year's Day. Cork and show.
Right.
The next day, he worked a barbed wire board death match in Big Japan on the second. On the third, he worked a freedom show.
Uh-oh. We're getting pretty close to the fifth.
In Shinkiba first ring, right? Gets on a plane, flies 14 hours to New Jersey, where it is still the third because he traveled back in time. And he wrestled Brandon Kirk in Brick, New Jersey on the third as well.
Holy shit, unbelievable. So he wrestled 2 death matches in one day on 2 continents. Yes.
Yes. 2 death matches. Listen, 2 death matches in one day in 2 different countries, like 28 hours apart. None of that makes sense, but it's all true. Okay? Because he traveled back in time to come to New Jersey, where it was still January 3rd, when he hops off a plane, probably jet lagged, still scarred up from the Freedom Smash.
Yeah, did he still have blood on him during the entire match? Like, when did he have time to do anything?
Rich, in Brick, New Jersey, for some promotion called Saw, which I've never heard of. Okay? And wrestles another death match against Brandon Kirk. And Rich, if you think Masashi Takeda took it easy in this death match, you would be wrong. The scissors were out. The panes of glass were out. He was bleeding less than a minute into the match. This is a legitimate effort. Would anyone have blamed him for mailing it in? Coming straight from the airport. Now, let me tell you, there's no international airport in Brick, New Jersey. I can guarantee you he landed in Philly and then drove 45 minutes to Brick.
Jeez, yeah, he's at the Brick Police Athletic League Center. What the fuck?
Yeah. So, the guy spends 14 hours on a plane. Okay, so we're not done. The next day, he goes up to Jersey City and wrestles Low-Key for ICW. So he got booked for the Low-Key match, right? But then he decided to make a little pit stop in Brick, New Jersey to wrestle on this know-nothing show. And he wrestles a death match and carves himself up in the process. He did not have to do that. But he actually squeezed in an extra booking instead of taking a fucking day off before he wrestled Low-Key on the 4th.
Unbelievable. This guy, yeah, I'm looking at his cage match right now. He had 5 matches in the first 4 days of January on 2 different continents.
And the Saw match isn't even on there because it's so low profile.
It is. No, the Saw match is on there.
Oh, it's on there now? Okay.
Yeah. So that accounts. Yeah, it's number 1, like you said, 0-1 on New Year's Day. That's just a tag team title match. Barbed wire death match, barbed wire board death match on the 2nd. And then the death match on the 3rd, the number 1 contender, the working a Freedom show and a Saw Don't Cross the Boss in Brick, New Jersey on the same night is just, oh my God, that's incredible. It's so good.
Technically the same day. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And then, then Wade Eagle Hall on the 4th. And then finally, thankfully, took 9 days off before back to Corkin Hall for Big Japan. So
now, if you want to circle back to December 30th, he worked a double shot on December 30th for Big Japan. And then he worked for OWE. He worked a double shot. He took the 31st off, but that's 2 more matches if you want to go all the way back to 12/30. So that's 7 matches in 6 days in 2 different continents. And 4 of them were death matches.
Unbelievable.
And
is that a good death match? Should I go check that one out?
It's yeah. I mean, I went.
I thought I saw there was a link popping around, right? That's probably how you found it too, right? It was.
Yeah, these are everything. I do YouTube reviews. They're all YouTube matches I review behind the paywall, so they're all out there. All you gotta do is search them. So it's Masashi Takeda versus Brandon Kirk, uploaded by Brandon Kirk, by the way.
I see that. That's awesome.
The guy's proud. I mean, it's probably the biggest match of his life.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it, man. Yeah.
So and yeah, it was good. I almost put it in the notebook. It's Takeda. He's the best. Who's better than Takeda in a death match, Rich? Like, who in a death match? Who do you want to see in a death match?
No, why do you think I said, should I watch this, Joe? I mean, if this was like normal deathmatch geek number 9, I'd be like, I don't fucking care. But yeah, Takeda fucking rules. I've always said he's a good wrestler that does death matches. And that's a huge distinction for him, yeah.
I set you up for the stop yelling at me, I agree, but you didn't pick up. It's cool. It's cool. It's all right. But I mean, yeah, I mean, he's tremendous. He's a great year. That's exactly what he is. He's a great wrestler who happens to do death matches. He had the scissors and everything. I'm sure he didn't fly in with them.
Yeah, I don't be so sure.
Did I tell you one time, oh God, probably about, I don't know how many years ago, many companies ago, I went on a business trip and I drove this dude, to the airport. He rode to the airport with me. And a guy in his mid-50s, mild-mannered. And we get to the airport security, and the security, like the buzzers start going off and shit. And it's like this guy that I'm traveling with. I'm like, what the fuck, right? And they pull us both aside. This motherfucker had garden shears in his suitcase, like giant Brutus the Barber beefcake level fucking scissors or garden shears or something. And they were like, you can't bring this on an airplane.
Right.
They're like, what do you think? Like, what was your plan? And I'm like disavowing the guy.
Yeah, never heard him, never seen him, never know. Yeah, I don't even know this guy.
This fucking guy. I drove him to the airport. He's been with the company like a week, which was a shoot. I'm like, I don't know nothing. Okay, I don't know anything. Please, sir, can I go? I'll go home if you want. Because I think we're going to jail. I think they think we're terrorists, and we're going to try to take down this plane. Because this guy's got this giant, I swear to you, they were either the world's biggest pair of scissors or they were literally like garden shears that you would trim your hedges with. And he had this in his fucking suitcase.
Yeah, like throw it in like not the carry-on, dude. Come on.
And they let us eventually, after they questioned us, they let us go. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you thinking? And he was like, oh, I like to bring office supplies when I travel. I don't know what kind of work I'm going to have to do. I'm like, those weren't.
Where are you where like the need of a scissor is going to be that much of a big deal where nobody has a pair of scissors and there's not like a convenience store within like 2 miles of you that you can go get a pair of scissors?
Exactly. I'm like, dude, why you could buy scissors at the other end of the flight? Like, or just, we're going to be staying in like a Marriott. Just call down to the front desk and be like, hey,
give you a pair of scissors.
Yeah, like we're staying in a decent place. Like it's not like scissors are this unattainable fucking thing. It's you go to a goddamn Walgreens and buy a fucking $10 pair of scissors when we get to fucking Omaha. We were going to Omaha of all places. Shout out Hype Gotti. And it's like,
I heard it's lovely this time of year. Was it around this time of year? Because
where are you going with that?
I'm just making fun of Omaha. I don't think.
I
don't think it's ever lovely there in Omaha. Was the joke?
No, so. It was not. It was not. Yeah, you know where else I used to go a lot for that job? Wichita, Kansas.
Ooh,
real hot destinations. Omaha and.
I can see why you're not in that job anymore. So.
Yeah, well, believe me, I don't fly much for work anymore. I don't fly at all, but back when I did, it was always shitty fucking. The other one was Pittsburgh, Kansas, not Pittsburgh.
I was like, Pittsburgh's fine. Oh, Pittsburgh, Kansas. I didn't know Pittsburgh, Kansas existed. What's in Pittsburgh, Kansas?
Well, that's where I had the three-way with the pair of cousins that didn't tell me they were related until.
After. Right. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that was Pittsburgh, Kansas. So.
I banged these two girls in Pittsburgh, Kansas, and then after I banged them, they're like, well, yeah, we're cousins. And I was like, what? I thought they were joking. They were like legitimately cousins, but they didn't say anything until after I banged them. It was really weird. But what else am I going to do in Pittsburgh, Kansas, Rich? I mean, there's a three-way on the table. You take it.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, Kansas for sure, yeah.
One of them was highly questionable, but listen, it's a three-way. You got to do what you got to do.
But if half of it's good, then, that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know they're going to turn out to be cousins. But, yeah, this guy tried to fly to fucking Omaha with, like, garden shears. Totally bizarre.
Trying to do work. That doesn't make any... But there's always... And anytime you ever fly, there's always that guy in line that, like, can't believe that he can't bring X on a plane or whatever.
Yes.
Like, no, you can't bring you bought him like a blowtorch or like, you know what I mean? There's always like, I'm trying to remember, there was a guy he brought in, I'm trying to remember what it was in a recent one. And it was like, everybody kind of laughed and we're like, come on, dude. Like, where have you been that you can't like, of course you can't do that. It's like I assume that everybody in line has never flown before or has not flown since 9/11. And it's like, cause there's always like guy who complains about taking his shoes off guy. And it's like, bro, come on, man. We know this. I don't like it. Nobody likes it, but it's just the thing we have to do now. So just like, there's always like, I gotta take my shoes off. And I'm like, what? Like, that was 20 years ago, dude. Like, yes, you have to take your shoes off. Sorry.
What do you mean I can't bring on 28 ounces of liquid?
Right. Yeah. Liquid guy. There's always liquid guy. It's like, I just thought that. And I'm like, well, yeah, but like, I know it sucks. I don't agree, but like, yeah, those are kind of the rules that we play by now. We've been playing by these rules for, 15, 20 years now. So sorry. I know it sucks, but come on.
Yeah, by now, I mean, there's no excuses. It's been long enough now where people should know. But yeah, so I doubt Takeda like flew in with the scissors, but they had scissors ready for him.
Well, that's amazing that they had scissors in another town that he didn't bring in.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because scissors only exist in, you buy your one pair of scissors your entire life, and that's it.
And again, I stress, these weren't fucking scissors anyway. These things were huge. They had handles. It wasn't the thing. Okay, a standard scissor has 2 holes for your fingers, right? And then do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I understand what scissors look like, Joe. Yes, thank you.
Now picture Brutus the Barber Beefcake with the
right, the shears, yeah.
These had handles. Like, they weren't quite the Brutus Beefcake size, but it definitely had handles and not loops, is what I'm saying.
What kind of work were you doing that would require that? Because I think I know what you were doing at that time, and I'm trying to figure out what you were using scissors for.
Rich, there's no work we were doing at that time that required scissors.
Like stapler, maybe. I kind of get a stapler, but then, like, again, you'll probably be able to find a stapler somewhere.
You can buy, how much is a fucking stapler? You buy one at the drugstore, you throw it out before you go home. Who cares? It's $8. There's nothing that would have required scissors to be, and nothing you can't borrow from a decent hotel. Again, we weren't staying at Motel 6. We were in a nice place. You can ask them for things and they'll give them to you. You know, especially stuff like that. And again, he didn't need it. Rich, all we needed to do our work was a fucking laptop. Okay, you're not fucking cutting things or stapling things. I don't know what this man was planning. Maybe he was going to hijack.
I think that's actually your with the conclusion I've come to is, yeah, he was planning on hijacking that plane, and he maybe got away just in the right nick of time. So good for him.
Not even, and like, carry on. He's bringing this on the carry on.
That is pretty impressive.
Couldn't believe it. He didn't last very long either. They canned the guy like a couple months after we got back. So who knows? Maybe he was a fucking murderer. I have no idea. But Takeda, Brandon Kirk, yeah. Patreon.com/Voice Wrestling. You can read my review on that too. I'm not going to give away my stars. You want that? You pay. Actually, the written reviews too. $1, Rich. $1 tier.
That's it? $1? Are you kidding?
$1. That's $1? Right. Might as well be free. All the written reviews on the $1 tier. Not for long. But for now, the written reviews are on the $1 tier. You go in and read them all the YouTube reviews. So anyway, that was Takeda, Brandon Kirk. What was the 3 matches I did? Let me plug it a little further here. We got shit, that's not it. It was Takeda Kirk. It was Titan Templario, and I reviewed, what was the third? Oh, Daishi Hashimoto versus Yuji Okabayashi from Big Japan on the second. So those reviews are all up.
And where is that? Where can I find that? And for how much?
Patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling, and all the written reviews are on the $1 tier. Might as well be free.
Unbelievable. Great stuff there. Anyway, let's get to some of the other stuff going on this weekend as well. So we got a bunch of different shows. We'll start in WWE land. We'll start with the Worlds Collide show. So this is not a takeover weekend. This is a Worlds Collide show. Again, not a takeover. A little bit of interesting idea here. Essentially, it's a kind of an NXT versus NXT UK branded show. It's a little weird. I think a lot of people might not really know that it's happening. I can't believe it's happening in the Toyota Center. Before we, kind of get into the nuts and bolts of the show and talk about some of the big matches, are you getting a feel for this Worlds Collide show? Because I've watched the last few NXTs. I've been keeping up with NXT for a little bit, and I don't feel like I have any feel for this Worlds Collide show whatsoever. It definitely doesn't feel like a takeover, and it definitely just feels like a show that I cannot believe is running in the Toyota Center the night prior to the Royal Rumble. Where are you at with this Worlds Collide show?
Well, I don't know about the Conan C and Caras cage match, but I think Los Gringos Locos Octagon and in the hair versus mask match, Octagon and Hijo del Santo could be a real banger. So I don't know what you're talking about, Rich. Chris Benoit's on that show, Too Cold Scorpio. So we are talking about When Worlds Collide.
I wish we were. I'd rather talk about that. You got a little Madonna's boyfriend there hanging out. I think where it was. Yeah, Madonna's boyfriend is dealing with psychosis, and there's some good stuff on that show. I'd rather talk about that show than this Worlds Collide for sure.
I remember back in 94, 95 or whatever, when that was, or 96, whatever, when I would talk to people about wrestling tapes, and I'd be like, yeah, if you're going to order from the old RF video, if you're going to order from the Kid Toucher down in Philly there, it wasn't revealed he was a Kid Toucher yet, of course. You got to get When Worlds Collide. You got to get great fucking show, right? I tell people. And every fucking time, like 2 or 3 different times, people would be like, the fuck you talking about? This is a very average ECW show. I'm like, ECW? They would send people the ECW When Worlds Collide from like 1994, which is a very different show than the AAA
1994. 94 for that one.
There's an ECW show from 94 called When Worlds Collide, which caused a lot of confusion in the black market, tape market in those days.
This show sucks. Yeah, this show's garbage.
Yeah. So
Sabu and Bobby Eaton defeat Terry Funk and Arn Anderson in the main event.
Well, that was big news when Eaton and Arn came in.
Yeah, that is kind of cool, I guess, but doesn't sound very good.
But it's a very average ECW. It's not considered one of the
JT
better.
Smith and the Bruise Brothers defeat Shane Douglas, Mr. Hughes, and Public Enemy in a handicap elimination match. Huh.
Yeah, I don't remember the story behind that, but it will be covered on Jovember to Remember behind the paywall, $5 tier, patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling. I'm in 1993 now, but I will get, 94 is right around the corner. So I'll break down when Worlds Collide, believe me, when we get there. But very different show. That's not a legendary show. The When Worlds Collide AAA show, the Ron Scholar IWC AAA, that's a legendary show. Worlds Collide coming up this Saturday, Rich. I think it has a chance to be good. It's not going to be a legendary show, but they're not selling many tickets. I can tell you that. We thought that was a mistake from the start, running Toyota Center for this thing. I just don't think the American audience gives a single shit about anything NXT UK.
Right. And that's a huge issue with the show, because given that it is all NXT versus NXT UK, it's like, okay, that makes sense at its core. And there are some teams that are representing NXT UK that do kind of cross over into mainstream NXT stuff. But then there's also like, Ilya Dragunov is in like a singles match, and I don't know that that's selling a single ticket. Especially in Houston, Texas or whatever. I don't know that, the Imperium, being in the main event or whatever is selling any tickets here. It's just a very weird show. It just doesn't, like I said, watching the NXT shows in the lead up to it, I just don't have a good feel for the show. I don't feel excited about the show. I don't feel like anything's really been built up all that well. Like, there's some okay stuff that's going on. There's Walter versus the Undisputed Era, I guess, has a little bit of juice to it. Rhea Ripley and Tony Storm has a little bit of juice to it. But a lot of the other stuff just kind of seems thrown together and just sort of, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like a show that should be on that Saturday before the Royal Rumble. They've sort of set the standards there with takeovers, and anybody that bought a ticket thinking they were going to get a takeover level show, I don't know if they're going to be super happy, and it looks like, from the bigger news story is that people are realizing this is not a takeover level show and then not buying tickets accordingly.
Yeah, look, I think they're trying, because I don't know if you saw NXT this week.
I did, yeah.
You did? Okay, so basically every segment, or just about every segment, they pushed Worlds Collide. They're pushing that Tony Storm, Rhea Ripley match. Isn't that on the show? And they're pushing that. They gave Ilya Dragunov a pre-tape, and last week they had Finn Balor talking about Ilya Dragunov, and they pushed the Grizzled Young Vets into the Dusty Classic Final. Pretty much every segment they did something to push Worlds Collide, and on the UK Takeover show, they obviously did the big angle at the end with Undisputed Era running in to attack Imperium, and Imperium cost Undisputed Era the match against Grizzled Young Vets on NXT last night. They're trying. I don't think, you can't call it a good build if it doesn't sell tickets, but I think the problem isn't the build. I think the problem is there is no NXT UK has zero footprint in the United States. No one cares. No one pays attention to it. Nobody cares. And these matches that they're setting up have zero appeal to even the core NXT audience, because even the NXT audience pays no attention to NXT UK. So I think that's the issue. It also doesn't help that Walter got squashed at Survivor Series, which is even more baffling in hindsight, because you knew he's main eventing this show. And that's your chance to expose him. Why am I even doing this?
Don't bother. Don't even bother.
They were ever going to think about that. But if you were running things, wouldn't you have thought about that? I can draw money with this man, and I'm probably headlining with him in 2 months in a fucking basketball arena. Maybe not beat him in 30 seconds. Right? In hindsight, it's like maybe he should have got a similar rub that Keith Lee did in that match. To establish him, because you need him to draw, but they don't think like that anymore, and all of these things. It's like, I just don't think anyone cares, and it's being reflected. I haven't looked at the chart. The last time I looked at the chart was when someone posted it about a week and a half ago, and it was dire. It's a huge fucking building.
It's a big one too. Yeah, for people that don't know about the Toyota Center or whatever, I mean, this is a big basketball arena too. This isn't like you're kind of, in Chicago we have the Allstate Arena, which holds 12,000, 13,000, 11,000 for wrestling if you really want to. Like, this is a big deal. This Toyota Center is a large arena, and I still cannot believe
it's the Rockets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I forget what it's set up for wrestling, but it's 18,000 plus for basketball.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a big capacity for this arena, and it is unbelievable when I read off this card that this is what they're presenting to the that sort of basketball arena. It just seems like a weird idea. If they knew ahead of time that this was kind of the show they were going to run, and knowing how they treat NXT UK and how they really treat NXT to the larger audience, it's baffling that they decided to book this arena for that, and but whatever, we'll see the day of. But yeah, it does not look like it's good, and I don't know that the walk-up's going to really save it either. I guess they're hoping that enough people, go to the Royal Rumble and decide they're going to be there for the whole weekend and then decide to do this. But like you said, half of this card is like not enticing to anybody. The interpromotional turmoil between NXT and NXT UK, I mean, nobody really gives a shit about that. So they would have been better served probably just doing a takeover. Yeah.
It's not resonating with any American fans. It just isn't. So yeah, they absolutely would have been better just doing a takeover. But yeah, let's run it down from the top. I'm not even sure I know this entire card.
No, so. And I don't think most people do. it's a surprise.
And I watch NXT every week.
Well, and that's what I mean. Like I know that they're trying to do it, but I don't know that the build's any good. Like I know that they're trying to tell you the show is coming, but the excitement level is hard to really get in. You know what I mean? They can tell you all the time that this person is facing this guy and that guy is facing this guy and these people are feuding and it's all going to collide at Worlds Collide or whatever. But there's no feel for it. Like you said, there's some matches I'm going to list here where you're going to go, oh, that's the match. Okay. Main event, presumably, right now is Imperium. Walter, Fabian Eichner, Marcel Bartel, and Alexander Wolf versus the Undisputed Era. It's obviously Adam Cole, O'Reilly, Fish, and Roderick Strong. So it's the 8-man tag is presumably our main event so far.
Yeah, it's they're counting on Undisputed Era drawing the house. The problem is we already discussed the issues with Walter, right? They've done nothing to get Walter over, and it should be very easy to get Walter over. The fact that they can fuck up Walter, I mean, how many times are we going to have this conversation? How do you fuck up Ricochet? How do you fuck up Walter? How do you fuck up?
I still can't believe they fucked up Bailey.
How do you fuck up Bailey?
That's one of the all-timers for me is that they fucked up Bailey. It's unbelievable.
It's crazy, but it's like they've sucked everything special that about Walter out of him. I mean, and even if you're someone who was going to give this a fair chance, who was just a casual WWE fan, and maybe you said, "Oh, NXT UK takeover." All right, I got 2 hours to kill on a Saturday. I don't watch NXT UK, but I'm going to watch this. If you watched Walter in that main event, struggling with whichever coffee that was, in a match that was way too long, well, how would you come away thinking of Walter after your only other experience with him was Survivor Series? It's like, we know Walter's special, but why would Joe WWE fan think he's special in any way whatsoever? Where's the evidence?
Right.
And then the only other piece of evidence that kind of fan might have is a 50-50 match with Kushida, who's half his size, which you ranted about on this show. So that was Walter Kushida, right?
Yeah,
From
right. Yeah. And it's like, Walter survived Kushida. I'm like, no, he should beat that geek in 10 seconds. Like,
yes.
My God, look at the size of the two men. Like, I'm not that type of wrestling fan, but like, if you're trying to build Walter, you got to build. It's one of these things where, and we, the argument that we got from both people is, well, you can build both guys, or both guys can get over, and it's like, okay, you can do that, but I'm going to do the style of wrestling that worked for decades, and that's where I push one guy and the other guy doesn't get pushed at the same time.
It's not even so much the size, although that's a factor. Which one of those two is a potential money drawing main event?
Right, exactly. Right. Which one are you trying to have main event your upcoming Worlds Collide show? It's not Kushida.
I love Kushida. He's Kushida. He's not ever going to be. Walter should be drawing money for this company, and he's being put in positions to draw money. Okay, if you want to have a 50-50 match, which not with Kushida, was the point. You weren't wrong. But a casual WWE guy, his exposure to Walter is basically 50-50 match with Kushida, who, by the way, they don't even push on NXT. I'd even give him a pass if Kushida was like a main eventer in NXT. He's not. He lost in the first round of Dusty Classic. They put him back together. They put his tag team back together with Alex Shelley and then dropped him out in the first round anyway. So it's like they don't care about Kushida. They don't push Kushida as a star. Okay, so your only exposure to Walter is a 50-50 match against Kushida, looking like a complete and total jobber at Survivor Series, looking like Mike Knox at the 2006 Survivor Series. Remember that? Remember Mike Knox at the 2006 Survivor Series?
I don't.
Okay, so the other team was DX, CM Punk, because CM Punk was feuding with Mike Knox at the time.
Oh, right. Yeah. They did a
in
sweep, didn't they?
ECW. Yes. And it was Punk's first feud in ECW because he was defending the honor of the exhibitionist Kelly Kelly, who was Mike Knox's girlfriend. Right?
She just wanted to get naked all the time, and you know.
Yeah, Mike Knox cover up.
Cause...
Stop getting naked in front of her basketball arenas. And she's like, I want to be naked. And CM Punk was like, let her be naked. You know, CM Punk, he was woke before woke was the thing because he was defending her right to be a sex worker, right? He's like, let her be naked. So they were feuding. So Mike Knox was on the other team. It was CM Punk, I think Jeff Hardy, and DX. Maybe Jeff Hardy's wrong. The other three are right.
I think you're right. No, I think you're right. Without looking it up, I believe you're right. So
the other side had Mike Knox and whoever the fuck. Doesn't matter. Point is, Mike Knox is the first guy in. No one knows who he is because it's ECW, WWE ECW. Which, by the way, at least like 1 million people a week were watching at that point. No one watches NXT UK. DX, like, look at each other. They give him like a double super kick or something, and he's eliminated in like 5 seconds, right? And then they're doing all these gestures to each other, like, who was that guy? Like, that is when people talk about burials, half the time it's not really a burial. That was a burial. DX beat him in 5 seconds, and then they were like, who is he? Who is that guy? Like, we don't even know who that is. Like, he's fucking completely worthless.
They did a lot of that in that era. That DX era was, oh man, the body count of that DX era. I mean, they like a few weeks later, I think, or maybe a few weeks prior to that, stuffed the entire Spirit Squad in a cart and slapped OVW on the cart and then kicked it out of the frame. So that, like,
yes.
Do you remember that?
I do. Awful. So it's like, but my point here is not that Mike Knox should have been pushed to the moon. Okay, that's not my point. Mike Knox really was never going to go places in that company. But my point here is that's how Walter was treated this year at Survivor Series. Same thing. I mean, he got eliminated in like, 90 seconds or something? First guy out. You know, it wasn't much better than fucking being treated like Mike Knox in 2006. So your exposure to this man, if you're a casual fucking Joe fan, is 50-50 match against Kushida, who does not get pushed, getting jobbed out of Survivor Series, and then a weird long match against a weird guy with a beard at NXT UK in a match that maybe was good, maybe wasn't, was definitely too long, and then getting jumped and beat up by Undisputed Era. Why on earth, if I'm going to Royal Rumble, am I buying a ticket to watch that guy and his 3 friends who never speak in the main event? Why? Why would I? I don't think there's going to be any walk-up. Because they fucked up Walter. How do you fuck up Walter? It's so easy. That's like the easiest one.
Yeah, guy chops, guy wins. Is the Walter thing. And they
beats people up and beats them. He's the final boss. How do you fuck him up? It's like fucking up Vader, which they kind of did too.
I was gonna say that's not the best example. They did that. They did that in literally 20 minutes. They fucked up Vader. So
it's putting a wig on Goldberg. How do they fucking manage to fuck everybody up like instantaneously?
They don't like to build you up and break you down. And build you up again. They like that's their style. So
well, the problem here is they're expecting the guy to main event basketball.
Right, you're right. You're not wrong. And yeah, there's no hook there. And I guess the hook is the Undisputed Era, but I don't know that they're draws on that level right now. I think people like them. I think people like going Adam Cole, baby, or whatever. But I don't know that like I'm buying a ticket to the Toyota Center to see Undisputed Era settle their beef with the Imperium like that.
Well, the problem isn't Adam Cole or the Undisputed Era. The problem is Imperium,
right? Because
Adam Cole has drawn against Johnny Gargano and other people. So I can't say that Undisputed Era is the issue there. The other takeovers have drawn. This is just no one in NXT UK is over. That's the problem here. I can't. If this does a bad house, right? Anyone who blames Adam Cole or Undisputed Era is out to lunch because we've seen Adam Cole draw on top in major shows. Didn't the one Adam Cole Gargano match drew the biggest gate in fucking NXT history? You know how I know that? Gabe Sapolsky tweets about it all the time because he probably had a big hand in it. But I'm just saying.
Right.
But so you can't tell me that Cole is the problem here. It's 100% the UK guys.
Right, but what I'm saying though is like by themselves, I don't think it's enough that like if we're not talking like
Clearly
Stone Cold
not.
Steve Austin like versus whoever the fuck. It wouldn't matter. In 1998, Stone Cold could have faced anybody in the fucking world or whatever, and they would have. So like I'm saying, the Undisputed Era aren't on that level, but they're almost treating them like they are on that level by booking them against complete dud like Imperium. Unless they like, I can't honestly believe that they sat down, put this card together, and said, "Yeah, this will sell out the Toyota Center," or "Yeah, we'll do a good house here." Like that's what I can't believe. I'm not really putting down the Undisputed Era. I'm just saying they're being relied upon to be like, "Oh, Undisputed Era is there. I'm gonna go watch this," and it's like I don't know that they're on that level. Strictly on their own, I think they do need someone else to help them, or it's not enough to just have, hey, the Undisputed Era are here, go buy a ticket, and that's kind of what they're hoping that people do, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what they're hoping for, to be honest.
You're dead on. They can't draw by themselves. You're right. They need a proper opponent, and this is not an opponent that's over. Now the match is probably going to be great.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be really, really good.
And Wolf has been fantastic. I watched a lot of him when we caught up with NXT UK a couple weeks ago, and I love Ackner and Bartel. I think they're one of the best tag teams in the world. I really do. Every single time they're put in a position to have a tag match on any of these shows, they fucking kill it. I love those guys. And obviously Walter's great. I mean, we're not knocking these guys. This match is probably going to rule. Problem is, obviously, they're not even close to being over with the greater WWE audience. So is this an elimination match or is it just an 8-man?
It's just as far as I know, just straight 8-man tag match. So,
so I don't know. It should be good. It should be wild, and it should be. There might be an angle coming out of it, and maybe this is where they start to push Walter. Who knows? The way the build has gone, you would think that. But do they really want to put Walter over Adam Cole right now?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I really don't. And that's
because Cole might have a role at WrestleMania. It's just so I don't know. It might be Walter just looking bad again. Who knows?
The match that I think probably has the best build and maybe my most anticipated match, or maybe not my most anticipated. There's one match I like a little bit more, but I'm really interested in this one. Rhea Ripley versus Toni Storm for the NXT Women's title here. They've done a really good job of building this, and I think Rhea also does have that sort of crossover appeal because we've seen her on NXT. She obviously won the title on NXT. So this is one that, while it is technically NXT UK, both these people have appeared on NXT main proper, shows a bunch. They've showed up on WWE shows a bunch as well. So this is one that I think that you could probably reasonably assume that most people in the door are aware of both these people and aware of kind of this feud a little bit. So as far as like, the difference of like Imperium where nobody probably cares, I think a lot of people will care about this Rhea Ripley versus Toni Storm match, whether or not it's enough to, be a draw or whatnot. But I think it's been pretty well built, and I'm kind of excited to see how this one shakes out. I think Ripley's going to win, but I've liked the build a lot so far.
I mean, it's an NXT title match, so I guess Toni Storm is technically an NXT UK wrestler. I guess that's the idea here. Even though she appears on NXT a lot. Is that the idea?
I think so, yeah, because I think Ripley is officially an NXT proper talent now, despite the fact that obviously she, was NXT UK, and then I believe, Toni Storm would technically be NXT UK, but like I said, it's all kind of loose because they're both on there pretty often, so.
All the time, yeah. But yeah, it has been pretty well built, and they obviously have a history, and they had some pretty good matches when they feuded over the NXT UK women's title. This company has a lot of titles, man. But, they've had decent matches in the past, and the build has been good. I think that it has a chance to be good. I think this show probably has. The show.
I mean, let's clarify. I don't know if anyone's going to buy a ticket to see this show, and it'll be very poorly attended. But I think this show fucking rocks on paper.
Yeah.
I mean, the worst match, which I'm going to say here in a sec, is like still has a chance to be really fucking good. And there's a match here that we're not even talking about that they really haven't done a very good job of building that could be tremendous. Like there's a match here that I'm like my most anticipated match of the entire weekend. I'll say, but anyway, I'll move on to the next one here. Finn Balor versus Ilya Dragunov. This is the one that I said has a chance of, I don't know, like this to me is like probably the worst match on the show. But it's Finn Balor and Ilya Dragunov. Like if they have their working boots on, this could be pretty damn good.
Honestly, I'm more concerned with Balor here than Dragunov.
Yeah.
I've been impressed. Dragunov is a guy I did not get for a long time. I didn't get him. And I'm starting to get him the more I watch him, oddly enough, in NXT UK. Which is like the opposite of a lot of wrestlers where it's like, they lose a little something when they come to WWE or it doesn't translate. I've liked his shit better in NXT UK than I did when he was, than his stuff in WXW and some other places for whatever reason. the Cesaro match. You remember that match from one of the? That was a UK takeover?
That was the first UK takeover. Yeah, the Blackpool, or no, not that. Maybe I don't forget which. I don't know if it was the first Blackpool or whatever the other one was. The other NXT UK takeover, but yeah, one of the NXT UK takeovers.
Man, it's like that was a hell of a match. And that's the last decent thing Cesaro has done, right? I mean, I can't remember the last.
Yeah.
I mean, he just started wearing fucking like jogging pants into the ring. Are you familiar with that era of Cesaro? He started wearing like fucking capris.
Yeah, it was really bizarre. I don't know. They were like, he was wearing joggers or something. I don't know what the hell was going on. Yeah. But that match was really good. And I also remember that match because TLB was in the room and she was just remarking over and over how Cesaro had an attractive back. So whatever that means. I guess. Did you get in the gym that weekend and work on your back, or
started working on those lats? Right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah,
absolutely. And how masculine he was. She kept noting how his back was attractive, and he was very. I can't argue with either of those statements.
No, he's a very attractive man. You can't fight that. You're also never gonna probably have a body that looks like Cesaro, so you might want to just say, hey, look, yes, he is a very attractive man. Like, if you try to go neck and neck with Cesaro, that's gonna be tough. So
not even attractive. Like her 2 points were. One, he has an attractive back. I get it. He has a huge back. And 2, he's very masculine. No argument there. He's a very masculine man.
He's got a good jawline, good head. He's got a big head.
What am I supposed to say? Like, if she was like, oh, The Miz is very masculine, I'd be like, now hold on a second.
Right.
Let's rethink all this because I can't have that, where were we? So, Ilya. Yeah. So I'm almost more worried about Balor in that spot, and really it's like I know Dave Meltzer made this point, but it was like dead on, and he's like what the fuck is the point of this? Like you have a guy who doesn't even get pushed in NXT UK versus like the top 1 or 2 guys in NXT. What is this match?
I don't know. And the problem, like Finn Balor's just gonna win, and like no one's gonna care, and they'll just kind of put their hands in the air while his music goes on, and that's kind of it. Yeah, that's what it's there for. It's there to get a pop, and hell, it's probably one of the big reasons. Maybe it's something they wanted to get on to draw is, hey, Finn Balor's gonna be here, and he's from WWE. You remember him, right? Like I think that's probably one of the things. But like again, it's they've gotten to this cycle now where they just think names are what like it's not always the names that make people want to buy tickets. Like give us a reason to buy a ticket to see Finn Balor. It's not enough to just see Finn Balor wrestle a guy. Like what's the reason that we want to see this match? And there's been nothing. There's really nothing developed in this. So yeah,
we had one pre-tape promo from one guy last week and one this week. So it's just supposed to be like, hey, this match is going to be good.
Right.
I guess that's the idea, which I guess would be fine and would work if there was a big-time money match on top. But, I mean, Balor hypothetically could have been in again, why am I doing it?
Yeah, don't even bother. Next match is for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. It's Angel Garza defending his title against Isaiah Swerve Scott, Jordan Devlin, and Travis Banks. It's a fatal 4-way match, which kind of annoys me a little bit, but yeah, this has the potential to be really, really good because, I mean, it's got Jordan Devlin in it. So, yeah, go ahead.
They said it was a 3-way, and the third man was to be determined on NXT UK this week. How the fuck did 4? I guess I need to watch NXT UK.
I don't know. I did not watch NXT UK this week, so I can't tell you. But
how did 4 men end up in this thing?
Your guess is as good as mine. Sorry, I did not.
And excuse me, Rich, but it's Angel Garza.
Sorry, I apologize. Yeah,
that is Angel stuff, and Humberto Carrillo. Okay, you got to get the tongue rolling in there. With these guys. Angel Garza. You sound like such a gringo.
I am a gringo. I'm bad at the Spanish, man. I'm
so yeah, I thought this
flavor. I have no Latin flavor whatsoever. It's pretty bad.
I got the flavor.
You have a pretty good job of the flavor, which is surprising. I don't know. Where'd you adopt that? How'd you get that?
I'm known as a master linguist. It's been
of course you are. Of course.
It's been known for a long time. I don't know where you've been. My pronunciations are always on point. Yeah, so I guess there's a 4-way now with Devlin and Banks. Okay. If you say so.
I'm not making it up, I promise. I might be making it up. Maybe the Wikipedia entry is making it up. I couldn't tell you one way or another, but that's what this says. So,
all right. Well, then we'll go with it. What else we got?
Then we have the match that, like, again, it's just like a match that's on this show, but like in any other era, if it was like well developed or well built, would just be like the most anticipated match of the weekend, and maybe on paper my most anticipated match of the weekend. It's fucking Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa versus Trent Seven and Tyler Bate.
Yeah.
Just like thrown onto the show, like, oh yeah, Mustache Mountain DIY. Like, oh my god, like 2 years ago, we'd be frothing at the mouth for this match. And it's just like, oh yeah. Like, how many people, like, honestly, before I mentioned that, how many people knew that match was happening this weekend?
Very few. I mean, they set it up. They set it up last week on NXT, and they didn't really follow up this week. Not that I remember anyway. So it's like, you're right. It's just thrown in on like the mid card. It's weird because that could be a match of the year contender. I don't think I'm being like crazy when I make that statement either. That could be a legitimate match of the year contender if it goes the way we think it can. So yeah, it should be great.
Yeah, and then
zero things, but you know.
Yeah, I don't know why I care about it, but yeah, on paper, should be a good match. And another match that, again, like, the reason you're going to watch it is because it can be a good match, is why you're apparently buying a ticket or going to check it out. And then there's one pre-show match as well. I'm sure it'll be taped for TV. I don't know exactly. Mia Yim versus Kaylee Ray as well. Just a straight singles match for nothing on the line. So
Yeah, they'll probably put that on NXT or something. So what is that? 4 matches for the main. Oh, what about the Dusty Classic final? Is that on that show or is that on NXT?
It does not appear to be on this show, no. So I think it's going to be on NXT TV. So
yeah, would have been a good spot for that, to have Riddle and Dunn against Grizzled Young.
But here's the thing, though, and this is where NXT is going to have to try to figure these things out in the future. Is like, okay, what's more important to them? Popping a big rating on a weekly show, or, you know, if you're going to draw a house the day before, you know, a big WWE show, like, that used to be the thing. It was easy to peak everything for, hey, WrestleMania's coming up, we're peaking everything for a takeover. SummerSlam's coming up, we're peaking everything for a takeover. Royal Rumble's coming up, we're peaking for a Royal Rumble or whatever. That was easy. That wasn't hard to do. Now you're peaking for every single week on Wednesdays. So it's like, it leads to shows like this where you're like, I don't know, there's like 4 matches and nobody really cares about it. And then an important match, like, you have to save that important match for TV, because you can't just do it all on this takeover show and have nothing left for TV. So this is kind of that weird position that NXT's in, is like, are you drawing ratings? Are you drawing house shows? Like, what is the goal of NXT? What are you doing right now? And we see it in this weird position, and the show is probably the best representation of how weird NXT is right now. It's like, okay, what's the end game here? Like, what's the goal? What are you building towards? What are you trying to do? Or are you trying to do everything all at once? And usually when you do that, you end up doing nothing. So
also, Angel Garza is fluctuates from heel and babyface every week.
I was going to say, yeah, what was he this week? Because I was like, I can't, like, he proposed to his wife, and I thought we were like, all right, well, he's clearly a babyface now. And then, like, the next week, he's like ripping his pants off and gyrating in front of people again. And I'm like, what? I think, like,
yeah, he's shit talking one week, then he's like a humble, nice guy the next week, and then he's shit talking again. I don't know what the fuck.
Okay, so it's not just me that doesn't understand that at all. Okay, good. Because I'm like, did I miss a week? Like, I feel like every time I watch Angel Garza, I feel like I'm missing a week. I feel like I'm like, what happened? Wait, last week he was doing this, right? Or did I miss something that happened? But you're right, it flip-flops every single week. Like, once you propose to your girlfriend after you win the title in the middle of the ring, you're kind of a face, right? Like,
he's been booked so oddly. If you remember when Tommaso Ciampa came back many months ago, Garza stepped up to him backstage, and Ciampa like punched him in the face and just decked him. And then he like beat him in a squash the next week. Mm-hmm. And the very next week, Garza's like winning the cruiserweight title.
Right.
And then what the fuck? Why didn't they just job him someone else out to Ciampa? Right? Like, what are they doing? Like, why use the guy that you're going to give a push to and put, again, why are we doing this?
I don't know.
How many people are in NXT, Rich? There's like 130.
Yeah, find some geek that's in hip toss class and say, hey, you're going to lose Tommaso Ciampa in 2 seconds, okay? Go out there, get in the ring, he's going to hit a clothesline, he's going to hit his move, and you're going to get pinned. Okay, cool.
Yeah, where's the geek they always do that with? The guy that's in NXT UK now. Our boy, what's his name? He would have been perfect for that. What the fuck is his name? With the flowy hair, the Hawaiian guy?
Oh, Conan Reeves? Oh, no, you're not jobbing out future superstar Conan Reeves. Are you got him in mind? No way.
That's the guy.
But you're right, yeah.
They've been jobbing him out for 4 years. Why are you putting Garza? Just what the fuck?
Well, no, like, even I'm honestly not even going to do Conan Reeves. I'm doing like random ass like trainee guy that's just backstage, and he walks by Ciampa, and Ciampa goes, "What are you looking at?" or whatever, like something like that, or some guy who was like, "Yeah, I'm going to make a name for myself. I'm going to face you, Ciampa," and then he just beats him in 2 minutes, and you never see from that guy again because he goes back to hip toss class and he doesn't come back for 2 years. I mean, there's literally like 700 people in that performance center. You can find someone.
I mean, they just jobbed out Joaquin Wilde to Finn Balor this week because Wilde hasn't won a match on TV yet. He's not being pushed yet. And that's like perfect. That's the kind of guy you job out, right? Because you haven't invested anything in him yet. You haven't told the fans that he's important. Like, that's the kind of guy. Like, you could have just done it with him. Like, why the guy who you knew you were going to put a title on within the next 2 weeks? It's bad. It just doesn't. Who's in the room? Who's in the room? How does no one stand up in the room and go, well, hold on a second. We're putting the title on this guy. Maybe we should rethink this. I don't understand. There's no one. Is there Triple H fear the same way there's Vince McMahon fear? That's what I wonder sometimes.
I don't know, man. I don't get. This company is so weird with how they book stuff these days, and I just don't get it. There's just I can't believe it's the same company that would think this shit out like 2 years in advance, and every single match would matter 2 years in advance, and now they just week to week it seems like nothing matters anymore, and there's no continuity. But that's Worlds Collide. So hey, by the time most of you guys read this, I'll have a preview up at voicesofwrestling.com as well.
That show's gonna fucking rule.
I mean, the show's great. Like on paper, those matches are all good, but like there's no reason to care about any of them.
Yeah.
But such is this company now. This company has turned into a match company. NXT in particular is a match show. Like that's the NXT, the weekly NXT show is watch 2 hours of pretty good wrestling.
Yeah.
It's fascinating that is like AEW is a little bit more of the story, a little bit more of the nuance, a little bit more of the storytelling, the character development. NXT is watch 2 hours of good matches.
Yeah. I mean, NXT this week was really good.
It was fantastic, yeah.
The 2 Dusty Classic matches were excellent. Well, I didn't like the fucking Imperium distraction finish in the first one where they're up in the balcony and their music
the music plays and Kyle O'Reilly just cannot fathom finishing the match in the ring. Oh my god, the music play.
Why did their music play and the spotlight go on them? Like, what's the explanation for that? Like it's just so stupid. But because they were having a nice little match there.
Yeah.
And then, the main event, it wasn't the main event, but Dunn and Riddle versus Imperium. Imperium is always good. And Dunn and Riddle, and that match was really good. And Keith Lee versus Roderick Strong.
Right, yeah.
God, that was great. Roderick Strong. I ranted and raved about it behind the paywall, patreon.com/voices of wrestling. You can make a serious case he's the best wrestler in the world. He's great. Roderick Strong is great. Every time I watch Roderick Strong, I think, holy shit, this guy's one of the best wrestlers in the world. And it's not because he's racking up 5-star matches left and right. He's not in a position to do that. You know what I mean? Like, he gets 4 or 5 big, not even. He probably gets 3 or 4 big matches a year. A tag title match on takeovers. They always get plenty of time, and they're always great. You put him in a main event of TV like this once in a blue moon, and it's great. It's like, I posed this question behind the paywall. Let me pose it to you, Rich. The one thing we haven't seen Roderick Strong do. First of all, do you agree with my premise that he's great?
No, absolutely. No, he's fantastic. He's a guy that every time I watch, I remember that he's been good for like 15 years too. And I'm like, man, God, like it's unbelievable. He is one of, I would honestly put him as one of the most underrated wrestlers, maybe of all time. Because you go back and you watch his early Ring of Honor stuff, his early TNA stuff. The guy was in TNA in 2005. For God's sakes, and having like pretty good matches. Like there's people that will debate that or whatever, but like whatever it was, like he's been solid since like 2004 2005, and it's unbelievable. He's just been consistently solid since then, and now I think in the last 5 years or so has become great. I would say there's some years prior where he was pretty good as well, but like he's become, like as you said, like a very well-rounded good wrestler at this point, like a great wrestler at this point, I should say.
Yeah, he had that little lull there for a while, and then he really had that great year in Ring of Honor, remember? And then he's been just phenomenal since he's been in this company. It's like his performance in that Lee match was like one of the best singular performances I've seen in some time. He was just so great. The way he moves around the ring, his mannerisms, going for all those pinfalls. He just, God, the intensity in which he works, the frenetic the frenetic action that he never stops moving. His cardio is ridiculous. The match was just great, but I will pose this to you. The one thing we haven't seen Roderick Strong do, he's obviously a great tag team wrestler. He's been a great TV wrestler. He's obviously technically with his execution, there's few better in the world. He's been doing it for 15 years. But maybe the one thing we haven't seen him do is, do you think he could deliver in a world title main event in a big spot? 28 minutes, major pay-per-view, world title match. That's the one thing I don't think he's ever been given an opportunity to do. I say there's no reason he couldn't. What does Rich Kraetsch say?
The thing is, it's like weird to say because, like you said, he's never been in that position, so it's hard to like visualize it. It's hard to say, yeah, he could, but like I don't see why he couldn't. I think that I have the same argument that you have. Is like, how could this guy be that good? And then like, oh, main event, no, I'm gonna shit the bed. Like, he's not gonna shit the bed. I think he's gonna definitely, yeah. I think he could deliver in it. It's just hard to envision it just because he's never been in that spot, especially in this company. It's hard to envision it ever happening in this company as well. But I have no reason to doubt him. I mean, why would you doubt Roderick Strong at this point in his career?
Okay, can I play devil's advocate to my own argument?
Sure.
Do you think he lacks the necessary charisma to deliver in a spot like that?
Maybe, but maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if he's been in a position to really do it. So no, I don't know. I don't know. I would say maybe. I wouldn't discredit that completely, but I do think it'd be worth a try and see.
Here's the hypothetical match example I gave behind the paywall, and I know you didn't listen yet because I finished that like right before we started. The hypothetical match I gave was if Undisputed Era broke up, right? And he turned babyface and he got into a feud with Adam Cole. And he main evented a takeover against Cole. I'm envisioning that in my mind, and I have no doubt it would deliver. Cole versus Strong, main event of a takeover, WrestleMania weekend, whatever weekend you want to put, SummerSlam. You feel like that match would deliver? Because I do.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, of course.
So to me, I'd be 100% certain a match like that. I just think that one thing we've never seen him do. I think it's just a lack of.
Okay, what was the feud that he was in? I want to say was it last year or something? He was in some feud with, or maybe 2 years ago, before he joined Undisputed Era. It was him and his wife were in a feud. Do you know what I'm talking about? He was with somebody, and I forget.
Bobby Roode.
Yes, how good that shit was great.
And that's Bobby Roode, average ass Bobby Roode.
I think that's maybe the secret ingredient for him is now that he's like Roderick Strong dad, that might be the charisma that he gets. Because like Roderick Strong, like by himself, maybe not. But if it's obviously gonna be weird with Shafir and she's the horsewomen and all that sort of shit. But
right.
Yeah, what they had then is like either she was pregnant or just had the kid or whatever, and that was where he kind of got his charisma as like not necessarily like an over the top volume up to 10 wrestler, but just like a dad who was like, no. I've worked too goddamn hard to get where I am. And I have a family to feed and all this sort of shit, and you're not going to talk. Yeah. You're not going to do that to me. That was great. That really unlocked a lot of his potential. I think
because he showed fire. Because you know what the story was. Bobby Roode was doing the typical. He was doing like the Nick Aldis, Ric Flair style world champion at that time, and he was like, "Hey, baby, why don't you fuck a real man?"
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then Strong showed all that fire, and that was kind of the impetus to that. Plus, she like had her newborn like with her, I think, to make it even more absurd. But that you're right, that was a good story, and probably the close. I mean, look, Roderick Strong was world champion in Ring of Honor, but what kind of buildings were they running then? I mean, I don't think they were running like, they weren't small time, but they weren't like they weren't running basketball arenas. This is my point, and it's like I just don't know if we've ever seen him in that position, and really that's the only thing he's lacking. I mean. Bell to bell, I cannot think. I really cannot think of 5 wrestlers I think are definitely better than him bell to bell. Remember the old Bill James exercise where it's like, can you name 100 catchers who are definitely better than, I forget who the catcher was, but it was the impetus for his book. And it's like, his friend was like, yeah, I could do that. And he named like 15 before it started to get iffy.
Right.
Because you don't really think in those terms until you try to do it, right? And then it's like, can you name 5 wrestlers who are definitely, without question, better than Roderick Strong? Maybe you can, but I bet you it's not as easy as it sounds. He's really great. It's like, think about it, like in your head, like there's really great wrestlers, but like he doesn't do anything poorly. He's like great at everything. So I just watched NXT this week and I thought, this guy's fucking awesome. Why doesn't he what is it that he doesn't, is it because he's in NXT and he's like hidden And I don't know. It's not like he's in a low profile spot in NXT.
Yeah, well, I think one of the worst things that happened to him, and some maybe would argue with that, but I think joining the Undisputed Era really kind of capped off what he could be, because there was a point where I did think that he was really on the rise there. Like I said, that Rude thing was off and firing, and he felt like he had kind of new direction. He felt like a top guy, and then he just joined Undisputed Era, and he immediately became at best second in the line. You're never going to top Cole in there. So I think the next time we ever see that from him would be him turning on Cole or them turning on him or whatever. Because right now he just joins Undisputed Era. He's just one of the 4 guys and very clearly not the leader of that unit. So I think that always puts a ceiling on what he could be in NXT right now too. So
is he the best wrestler in WWE?
I would still. Do you mean output wise? Because I think Tyler Bate is still better than him, but I think Tyler Bate has no chance to show it.
That's fine. I mean, I'm asking you a question.
Yeah, I think Walter's better than him too, but again,
Bate or Strong? I'd really have to think about that.
It's a good match. Yeah, like that.
Riddle has got to be up there. Ricochet. I think Strong is better than Ricochet.
Yes. At this point, for sure.
Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan's good.
Yeah, I'm done with him. Show your strap match.
But this is what I mean. See how with all of these we're debating it in our head? They're not definitely better. You see the point I'm trying to make? It's
right. There's nobody that I would say, no, Joe, you're an idiot. It's blank.
It's clear cut. You said you prefer Bate and Walter. I'd put some thought into those. It's maybe I'd come to the conclusion that they're better than Roderick Strong, but it's not a slam dunk. And it's I'm trying to think. Kento Miyahara, is he definitely better than Roderick Strong?
Yeah, there's some debate there for sure.
See, you already started. See, you thought for 3 seconds. It's you may come to the conclusion Miyahara is better, but it's you think about it. That's my point. See,
if I went down the line, he forces you to think about it. Yeah.
I may be able to come up with 20 or 25 guys who are better. Maybe. Seems like a lot. But I'd have to, but definitely better? I don't know if I could think of 5. Because he really is that good, I think. And it's not even, it's what I'm saying about him. What about Will Ospreay or Shingo?
I think they're a little step above.
So do I. I would put both
Roderick. Yeah, sorry, but
it's so there's 2. What about Okada?
Oh no, Okada's leaps and bounds better than.
What about Naito?
Oh, people are gonna get mad at this one, but I would think about that one a little bit.
I would too. I think Strong's might be better. But I could go if we had time to do it, maybe I'd go with Naito. That's just Miyahara. My gut is to say Miyahara, but I can't call it a slam dunk. But I'd probably, at the end of the argument, go with Miyahara. And we're probably forgetting obvious people, but the point of the exercise isn't to go through everyone. It's just, Bate and Walter were great examples because those are 2 that I see as really good debates, but they're not slam dunks. Neither's Riddle. Neither's Pete Dunne. Who else are we missing in WWE?
Yeah, I was going to mention Gargano. I would put in that mix.
Gargano, yeah, for sure.
There are definitely people that are down on him, but I'm not. I still think he's tremendous. So
I don't think AJ Styles is that class anymore.
No, God no.
I don't think Rollins is that class.
No,
he's not as good as any of those guys that we named. Kota Ibushi.
I think Kota's better than Roderick.
Ishii.
I think Ishii's better.
They've wrestled each other. That was disappointing.
Yeah, it did not deliver, unfortunately.
Wasn't great. It was all right. Yeah, Gargano's a good one. You forget about him because he's been hurt. But
and just not doing anything. That's what I was so worried about. So he's just like, hey, I'm at NXT again. They're like, oh, you're still here, dude? He's some 23-year-old dude that's still hanging out at college parties, and they're like, didn't this guy graduate?
Yeah.
Nah, yeah, I'm between jobs right now. It's like, well, go, dude. Like, you can't come to college parties anymore.
I love his promo.
Don't you work at a bank now? Yeah. I came for the weekend. He's like, he leaves his bank job on Friday and comes, drives down and drink on the weekends. I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Did you hear the promo he cut on Balor a few weeks ago where he was like, when you got the call to the main roster, you packed your bags and left. When I got the call, I stayed here. But he went to Raw.
He did, yeah. They've whitewashed that from history. That DIY was on Raw and Ciampa got hurt, and then they sent him back. Like, they have whitewashed that from history.
Yeah,
that never happened in their canon. That never happened.
Yeah, he spent time on the Raw roster. Like, you're full of shit. Anyway,
is that really something to be proud of either? Like,
yeah. Well,
I'm not going anywhere ever. It's like, okay,
he's trying to pop Full Sail.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, anyway, Royal Rumble, right?
Yeah, we've heard far enough. Let's talk about the Royal Rumble here. If you want to get in the Royal Rumble mood, patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling. I'm going through 10 of the best, the worst, and the most random, most newsworthy Royal Rumbles in history. So patreon.com.
Oh, my ass 10. Every day there's like 4 on.
No, I'm just trying to get it done. I did not realize how quickly the Royal Rumble was coming up. I'm trying to get as many done as I can before Sunday's show.
I'm not knocking you. You're pumping out the content like a machine.
Man. Yeah, well, you have to wake up at 4 a.m. and go to bed at 2, but goddamn it, you can do it. So
it's incredible.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. voicewrestling.com/Patreon for those as well. I'm going over many of the, some good, some bad, some interesting Royal Rumbles in history as well. So people are enjoying it a lot. So I'm glad to hear the feedback. And I'll get you hyped up for this here Royal Rumble 2020 taking place, Joe, from Minute Maid Park in Houston. This is another thing that I think I knew that this was taking place at Minute Maid Park, but I really didn't realize until we were getting ready for the show. And I was like, holy fuck, they're at a baseball stadium for this show. This does not feel like a baseball stadium show, does it?
It's the Rumble. They're trying to sell it on the Rumble. They're not trying to sell it with the participants in the Rumbles. But
certainly not, no.
But they figure, but this is like, they tried that in San Antonio that one year, 96,
97. 97 was the first Alamo one, yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to try a baseball stadium here. I have been to Minute Maid countless times, never with the roof open. Every time I go to that fucking building for a baseball game, the roof is closed and I feel like I'm in a mall. One time I just want the fucking roof open for a baseball game, but it is Houston in the middle of August, so I don't know what I expect. But yeah, big building. So how are ticket sales? Have you seen or
yeah, I tried to look a little bit earlier and it looks like they're okay, but it looks like and I think Dave may have mentioned this, Dave Meltzer may have mentioned this in last week's Wrestling Observer, is it looks like a lot of secondary markets grab the tickets right away, because right now you can get in the building for like $20. Like the secondary tickets are very, very low for the show, but it looks like a lot of it is sold, which is interesting. So we'll see, how many people show up, how many people have tickets, how many people actually, go to the show. So it looks like it's actually surprisingly doing better than I thought it would, but there are a lot of tickets on the secondary market. So I don't know if that's just people hoping to get someone to buy it, or the people that are going to the show anyway and just saying, hey, look, let's see if somebody drops me $50 and they can have these tickets or whatever, or if those people, if they don't sell them, will show up. It'll be interesting to see. It looks like they always do WWE always does a fantastic job of like making crowds look good and lighting things perfectly and moving people where they need to go. So I'm sure it will look aesthetically good. It's just a big area. I mean, having a baseball stadium and trying to make that look okay and trying to fill that, especially if the floor is not filled, like that's always a tough deal there. So you can tarp off an upper deck and not even show the upper decks, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting here with so much room on the field / floor or whatever. So that'll be interesting to see how it works out.
Let's meticulously break down every participant in both of the Royal Rumbles. That will take many hours. Let's start with the women's Royal Rumble.
Let's do it, Joe. All right, are you ready? You got your thinking cap on?
It's on.
Okay, so you're a betting man, right? You're a guy, good at the odds, the over-unders, that sort of stuff.
I've been known to make a bet.
Can I have you do that for this Women's Royal Rumble participants? There's a lot of names, so there's a lot of numbers you're going to be throwing around here, but I want you to guess, and I'm going to name all the participants, all of them. And
30 women in this match, absolutely.
30 women, 30 entrants in this match. Not all of them have been announced. You don't know. We'll tell you the number that got announced here in a bit, but I want you to give me...
Well, surely there's been at least 20 to 25 women.
Surely there's... The Joe would be absolutely ridiculous to have only 17% of the participants announced 2 days prior to the show. That'd be ridiculous.
You leave a couple spots for surprises, but surely by now, on Thursday, they've announced at least 25 participants.
Absolutely, yeah. So get ready for that. So are you ready for odds and over-unders on all of them?
Let's Let's do it.
Okay. All right. The first one here, Natalya. She on January 22nd, 2020, announced on WWE's The Bump that she was going to be on the Women's Royal Rumble match. Natalya, what are the chances of her winning the Royal Rumble?
What the fuck is The Bump?
I don't know what The Bump is.
What is that?
Is that the one where it's like they're all on like couches and they're being goofy? I've never watched it. You couldn't fucking gun to my head. I don't think I'd watch The Bump.
Is this a show about pregnancy or something?
I don't think it's about pregnancy. No, I don't believe it's about pregnancy. I think it's I guess it's a network show. I guess I'm looking at it now. It streams every Wednesday. Caleb Braxton and some other people are on it. Yeah, I don't know what The Bump is.
Who the fuck is gonna sit down and watch?
You know what?
that?
I want, Joe, more WWE content this week. There's just not nearly enough. I wish.
And that's not
there
even
was more.
and it's not even on the network. That's just like
I think it's the network. I think it's streamed and on the network. So
it's like on .com. That site that no one fucking can't navigate it. It's like, what is it? I don't know what it is. The Bump. This is where they announced that she's going to be in the Royal Rumble.
Natalya announced on her own that she was going to be in the Rumble on The Bump.
Is this like CMLL Informa that airs on like?
Yes, I think that's.
They have the interviews.
Anyway, odds for Natalya. Spit it out. Let's go.
I'll give her 800 to 1 to win.
Yeah, it's tough. Okay, so we're going those odds there. Okay.
So the winner main events WrestleMania, correct?
Right, exactly, yes.
Or, in this year's case, like 7th from the top, right?
Right.
Okay.
Because Ronda Rousey's not there anymore, so yeah.
Right.
The revolution is paused for right now. So
that's right. We're on pause. Yeah.
January 13th, 2020, announced on her Twitter, Sarah Logan entering the Women's Royal Rumble.
So this might not even be true. She just might be like, hey, man.
I think she just said, hey, I'm in the Rumble. So.
I'm a Viking, and I'm showing up, and I am Crazy Mary Dobson, and I'm just fucking, I'm high. So who knows if this is real? But if it is real, I will put 10,000 to 1 on Sarah Logan.
Sarah Logan. Those good odds. Hey, you never know, man. It could get wild. Good money there. Okay. All right. January 10th, 2020, announced on SmackDown, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross are entering the Women's Royal Rumble match.
Alexa Bliss, I'll go 50 to 1. What was the other one?
Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross.
Ugh, Nikki Cross. What did I say for Natalya? 800 to 1?
You said 800 to 1 for Natalya, yeah.
1,000 to 1 for Nikki.
Okay, so right now Sarah Logan's the big money. But she was 10,000 to 1, correct? Sarah Logan?
Yeah.
That's great odds.
Here's the thing, though. I might be in a position to lose a ton of money because I've just rethought this. The women's main event at WrestleMania, like I said, is going to be like 7th from the top. Really, anyone can win this.
It is for anybody, yes. And that's why there's all these names that are vying for it, Joe. So
I'm working under the premise that this is like a legitimate main event, which it probably isn't going to be. So I don't know. I'm not taking any action on these odds. Let's just put it that way. Man, we got to get through like 20 more of these.
I know, plenty more names, yeah. But you've given those have been the high odds ones, but we're going to get into the money part here. So
big overrun week here.
Absolutely. Okay. December 30th, 2019, announced on Raw, Charlotte Flair entering the Women's Royal Rumble match.
I'm going to go 1 to 2. 1 to 2.
Heavy favorite, Charlotte Flair. All right.
You're not making any money on Charlotte if you're betting on Charlotte. Okay, you gotta bet $2 to make $1. If you this is gambling.
Yeah, you're gonna parlay Charlotte with something else. You're gonna go, Absolutely. Heavy, Eric Rowan in the Men's Royal Rumble and parlay it with Charlotte Flair and hope you nail something. I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're going the Fiend. You're parlaying the Fiend and Charlotte Flair to see what you can do here. But that's actually it. 5 out of 30 for the Women's Royal Rumble match.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So despite the fact that it's happening,
where's the rest of the field?
In 2 days. I don't know. Yeah, who cares? Whatever. 5 out of 30. So.
They've announced 5 names, and this is in 3 days.
Yes. And so I made fun of this on Twitter. We're doing a little bit here. I made fun of this on Twitter, and I got a lot of responses of like, oh, I like this. I like the surprise. And like, okay.
Yeah, you leave 5 spots. You don't
exactly, right. Like, you either don't announce anybody and say, fuck it, who knows who's going to show up this Sunday at the Royal Rumble. That's not a good way to promote a show, by the way. Like, promoting wrestling, it's always done a little bit better when you say, hey, these people that you like and that we promote every single week, they're going to be on the show wrestling in an important match. That's kind of how you promote wrestling, usually. Yeah. But if you want to do a whole, hey, who the hell knows who's going to show up, that's fine, too. But announcing 5 out of 30 is just lazy and absolutely unacceptable. Like you said, 25 out of 30, and then say, hey, the next 5, who knows who's going to show up? You know, Trish Stratus might show up again. It might be, you know, Tori. Who the hell knows? Let your imagination run wild for the last 5 or whatever. That's fine.
Well,
I get that.
Here's the bigger problem too. Everything you're saying is true. The other problem with it is it really a mystery? You know it's going to be Mandy fucking Rose and all the fucking regulars and Sasha Banks and
That's what I mean. It's lazy. Like, we know the roster, and it's not like there's going to be, you know, 25 random people out of nowhere. They're going to pluck people that you've never heard of before, people that you can't believe, oh my God, it's her. Like, I can't believe she, you know, it's going to be Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville and Sasha Banks and we know we could announce the other 20 right now if we wanted to, but they just haven't decided to do that. So,
right. Like, if we cared enough, we can get the number up to 25 and be 99% accurate and leave those 5 open spots for whoever the hell they're bringing in. It's like, you're not, so everyone's like, I like being, what are you going to be, you're really going to be surprised when Mandy Rose walks down the fucking...
Oh my God, it's both members of Fire and Desire. I can't believe it.
Yeah, give me a break. I mean, it's going to be stunning when, Sasha Banks comes soaring down the...
Is that Liv Morgan? Oh my God, who would have thought?
I mean, come on. So you're not even being surprised. They're just fucking being super lazy, and it tells you how much effort they're putting into it.
Yeah.
Zero effort. You know, it tells me Charlotte's going to win because they named her already.
Company sucks. Yeah, all right.
Terrible company.
Let's do some other matches, and then we'll do the men's Royal Rumble. So,
who was it last year who came in and blew every spot and then got thrown out? Xia Li? Was it Xia Li? It was someone like that, right? From NXT. She came in, she blew every spot, and then she got thrown out of the ring. That match was horrendous.
Oh, last year's was so bad. Yeah, it was so bad.
It was so bad. There was nothing but a new girl would come in. They would do, like, everyone else would clear the way so they could do a spot. They would proceed to blow the spot.
I was going to say, fuck it up every single time.
That happened for, like, probably 25 straight minutes in the meat of that match. That was the pattern. It was awful. So, there's no way that it can be worse than that. It'll be a better, because the first wasn't there. This is the third one, right?
This is the third one. Yeah, the first one was actually pretty awesome.
First one was really good and arguably better than the men's one.
Yeah, but that's one that I think prior to that, because they knew it was such a big deal, I think they got like everybody together for like a week prior and basically learned how to do every single spot, was like meticulously laid out and all that sort of stuff. And you can tell last year's that did not happen last year, because it was like, hey, call it in the ring, and they were like, oh boy.
It's awful. Yeah. It was a spot with Xia Li and Natalya, I think.
Oh,
went. Do you remember that spot? Yeah. It was so bad. Like, and it's like, to them, Natalya is like the trusted veteran who can, you know, make it work with the green Xia Li. But we all know that Natalya kind of stinks. So it's like, it was the perfect storm for a disaster, and that's exactly how it went down. How many people are announced for this men's match?
Joe, surprisingly, 25 out of 30, the exact number that we say you should always announce. So it's like, we don't, like, so anybody saying, oh no, they're doing it because it's surprise, like, they know what to do. They're just being fucking lazy about the next 20 women. They can announce the next 20 women right now on social media, and nobody, like, it'd be fine. It'd be perfectly okay. They just don't, they're just being lazy about it.
Yeah, and it might actually sell a network subscription or two. It might actually sell a ticket or two, especially with the women's match, because, Rich, the diva stands, as they call them, are very devoted. If you said, name a random one, I don't know.
Liv Morgan again.
Yeah, I mean, she's in that Rusev thing, but I get what you're saying. Hey, but if you announce her for the fucking match, those Liv Morgan fans are rabid. You know, they might buy a ticket. You know, but you're not announcing any. But it's just like it's like we talked about with the Worlds Collide. They just don't put any effort anymore. They don't think about these things. Such a bizarre, weird, little, shitty, fucking garbage company. Anyway, the men's match.
No, I'm going to wait till let's go to the men's rumble in a bit. How about that? Let's because there's some heavy hitters on the show here that we have to talk about.
Rich has a format here.
Before we get to the men's rumble, I do not have a format, but I just want to just spray some out a little bit. We have some because we got Andrade versus Humberto Carrillo.
Yeah, man.
U.S. Championship match here. Let's go.
Yeah, Humberto was fired up on Raw.
Yeah, Humberto fucking rocks, man. This match is gonna be great.
Yeah, should be pretty good. Yeah, they get time. It should be a really good match.
Bayley versus Lacey Evans for the SmackDown Women's title.
You know what wasn't a really great match was that ladder match between Andrade and Ray. Did you see it?
I did. Yeah, it's like
it's a mess.
Yeah, like people have equated like guys dying in a match to like it being like that was just like I'm done with ladder matches. I don't want to ever see a ladder match ever again. I think is where I'm at.
Yeah, I was very disappointed. Our timeline that night, I didn't know what to make of it because people weren't really saying anything. And it may have been because they felt bad about Barry and Ray. But then I asked, I tried to crowdsource. I said, should I watch this or not? Because I can't tell. And some people were like, yeah, it fucking ruled. And other people were like, nah, it'll make you sad. So I was like, well, now I have to fucking watch it. And I don't know if it made me sad, but I definitely, look, there were like 2 commercial breaks, number one. They blew like 2 or 3 spots. And it was a fucking ladder match. And I'm just, we're over them. We talked about it all
the new ladder match is not like guys, using a ladder to try to, it's just like setting up a ladder, guy falls through the ladder, setting up a ladder over here, guys jump off the ladders, fall through ladders. It's just like, I've seen enough guys go through aluminum ladders in the last 2 years. I'm good. I'm over it.
Yeah, I preferred the singles matches they had early last year to the ladder match.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Those matches were great.
So, anyway, just wanted to get that in there quickly. So what was this women's match?
Bayley versus Lacey Evans.
Right. So, Lacey, for some reason, is a babyface now. Will you think about this company for a second?
Oh no! Don't make me. I don't want to.
Listen,
is that a threat? Why are you threatening me with this?
Like you said before, they've somehow managed to blow Bayley, right? She's a
heel.
Bayley's a heel. Yeah. What the fuck? And it's like, here's the thing. They're both doing pretty well in the role. So no disrespect to either one of those wrestlers. But why the fuck isn't Bayley killing it as a babyface, and why isn't Lacey still trolling and being an incredible heel? Why is it the other? Why would they turn to begin with, regardless of whether they're doing a good job? How can you blow? Those are both layups. Everyone fucking hates Lacey Evans. All the wokes can't stand her. Okay? And she was getting heat from everyone else because she's a very effective asshole. And Bayley's Bayley. And it's like, you're getting more out of them in the opposite way. What the fuck is wrong with this? How does that happen? Lacey should have been a top heel on the women's side for like fucking 10 years. And Bayley should have been a fucking layup as a babyface star for 10 years.
Yeah, you should have half that arena should be filled with 10-year-old girls screaming their screaming as loud as they possibly can for Bayley to come out because she's the inspiration to women everywhere. And no, we have the ladies' lady is it's perplexing.
The ladies' lady who really hasn't changed her gimmick. She still goes on Twitter and says, "My man's dinner is hot and on the table," and that's your big baby face.
Right.
That's heel heat.
Because Vince, not to Vince. This is the problem. Not to Vince McMahon. He's like, God damn right. Like, that's how it's done. That's how women are supposed to be. Like, this is the thing that I said. The complex is that man doesn't know what good and evil is anymore. He's lost complete. He doesn't understand at all anymore.
Yeah.
What people like what actual human beings like and respond to.
It's steak and ketchup on the
right. Steak and ketchup wraps. God damn right. Yeah.
None of these burritos you speak of. I don't know what that is. Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. She's still the same. Like, she hasn't changed the character, but now she's just a babyface. It's.
Yeah, her most recent her most recent Instagram post is waiting for my mom jeans to get done drying. Husband fed, homeschooling done, house clean, chickens watered, workout complete. Limitless lady up and running.
Now listen, a woman who does all those things can be a perfectly respectable and nice woman, but that's such easy heel heat with other women.
Right. And what I'll tell you right now is like the replies are all like other members of the NXT roster that I think she's still a heel. Because Chelsea Green and Casey Catanzaro are like, oh, okay, or like, okay, I roll, like, sure, all right, girl, and it's like, they're clearly like, oh, she's a heel, so we're gonna like, act like, because these are women that, no, Chelsea Green's not putting the fucking, let Zack Ryder make the goddamn dinner, because
Right.
He's not doing anything except playing around with his fucking figures. So make him make the goddamn dinner or whatever. Casey's like, make Ricochet fucking heat up some chicken for us. But like, so they're kind of like rolling their eyes at it because they think she's still a heel, but she's a face. It's just like,
yes,
the company themselves don't even know. Yeah.
Because they can't even tell. Because they don't watch the show and they can't tell. Because she's still tweeting. That's my point. She's still like the same character, but now she's just a babyface. At least Bayley changed it up. She got a haircut. She's fucking acting like an asshole. She's killing the fucking wind socks with an axe. Okay, those are heel maneuvers. I get it. I don't know. Why are we doing this? Come on, what's that?
Okay, so Joe, I always have a Royal Rumble party. People come over to my house.
I cook the dinner in my house. Am I a heel?
Maybe. Yeah, I'm a heel too, I guess. That too. But okay, so I always have a Royal Rumble party. People come over to my house to watch the Royal Rumble. We bet on it and do all this sort of stuff. The problem though is the last few years, and the reason why I really am like regretting having this party is this match right here: Shorty G versus Sheamus. Because the problem now, and this always happens, is Shorty G is going to come out in his Bart Simpson outfit, and I'm going to get a lot of, Rich, what's the Shorty G thing? And they want me to explain it. And I just go, I don't know. And they go, well, no. Why is he like wearing? And I'm like, I don't know. And then they just berate me. The people in the room, because there's also like, there's like friends, and then their girlfriends come, and then friends' wives come, because it's like a fun time. They tell their wives, oh no, we bet on it. It's fun. There's food, and we drink, and we yell. It's like, yeah, you can come. Like, because normally, like, if I'm like, hey, we're going to watch, New Japan show, whatever, they're going to leave their girlfriends home or whatever. But everybody brings the significant others, the plus ones all come. And then I get a room full of people turning to me and going, hey, what's a Shorty G thing? And I have to like explain it. And how do you explain Shorty G to a room full of people that have no idea what's going on?
Bart Simpson outfit.
He wears basketball shorts. I had it on the other day, and Michelle walked in the room and went, what the hell is that? I was just like, I don't know. I'm not going to explain it. I changed the channel, and we never spoke of it again, because I was like, I can't even attempt to explain it.
They dress him like a small boy. They dress him like I dress the 3-year-old boy in my house. That's how they dress him. Like, all he's missing is like a Spider-Man logo on the shorts, and he dresses like the 3-year-old in my house. I don't know what you tell those visitors. He's in another feud with a big bully. So remember, that's supposed to make him a star last time. So now he's like with Baron Corbin, remember? And now he's a...
Well, this story's a little bit different, though, because Sheamus, Joe, he's tall, and Shorty G is short. So it's a little bit different.
It's exactly the same.
Oh, okay. Right.
That's the exact same story.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Sheamus, again, a very good
Was that the story
character.
that Baron Corbin was tall and Shorty G was short?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, tall and short.
So this is the same story then, yeah, that Sheamus is tall. Okay, all right.
And they're bullies.
Little fella. He calls him little fella.
I'm sure he has. Yeah. Listen here, little fella. That kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Remember Sheamus, remember before the tag team with Cesaro? Sheamus is, what do you call it? The Titantron gimmick? They still call it that?
They do. Yeah, I guess they still call it that, yeah.
It was just constant images of like Catholic crosses, because that's all they knew to do for the Irish guy, Well, he must be Irish, he must be fucking Catholic, so let's just show imagery. It's like these zoom-ins to crosses, remember?
Right, I do.
On top of church steeples, in fucking graveyards, fucking just a series of fucking crosses, because that's his whole character is, I'm Irish, so it must mean you're fucking Catholic. And that might not even be the case. Maybe he's not Catholic, but just crosses one after another. Does he have that Titantron back now that he's no longer?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen his Titantron since he returned. So,
yeah, keep an eye out on that for the Royal Rumble.
Thing to watch for this match.
And his Shorty G. Remember when Shorty G? People insisted this man was going to be a huge star with the Shorty G, and I'm like, what the fuck? Really? I mean, come on. It's like, what are we talking about? How is that ever going to be a star? I don't know. Is there another? I can't do it anymore. Is there another match on your?
There's 3 more matches, Joe.
Oh my God! How many matches are on this show?
4 actually. There's 4 more matches.
Wait a minute, Rich. The Royal Rumbles are over an hour long.
Well, these shows are 4 hours or 5. This might be 5. I don't know. I did get one reply from one of my buddies saying like, when do I have to come over for this? And I was like, look, dude, if I knew when the Royal Rumbles were going to come, I would definitely just tell you to come right when the Royal Rumble. If they were the last 2 matches on the show, I would have people over my house at 9 and then they'd leave at 10 or 11 or whatever. And we'd be perfectly fine. But the fact that they have to get here at 5, just in case like the women's Royal Rumble match is first is pretty bad. Cause they screwed up that one year. They had the men's Rumble, like 3rd from the top. And it was like, what the fuck? Like it was disarray in this household. But anyway, Falls Count Anywhere, Joe. That anywhere in the arena. Roman Reigns versus King Corbin.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about this one. Yeah.
How good?
Well, it's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, Reigns is gonna spear Corbin through the barricades and.
Can't wait.
Raw Women's Championship.
Wait a minute. Are you saying they're going to do the barricade spot in this Falls Count Anywhere match? What makes you think they're going to do the barricade spot?
Or they'll do maybe Reigns will get carried out on a stretcher too. That's a real possibility too.
Someone might.
Oh, you know what? That's it. Because like he's in the Royal Rumble. Oh my God, there it is. So King Corbin's gonna have his court come out and beat up Roman Reigns and put him on a stretcher, and then we're gonna have doubt that Roman Reigns is even gonna come out for the Royal Rumble. How can he make it out to the Royal Rumble, Joe? How can he possibly?
Do you have the booking sheet?
I don't.
Because that's exactly what's gonna happen, and he's gonna come out. Roman's. It's gonna go okay. And it's going to be number 27. Why is it always number 27 when they do something like this? So it's going to be number 27. It's going to go 5, 4, 3, right? Dun-dun, dun-dun. But he's not going to come out right away, right? He's going to come out a little slower than he usually comes out. And Rich, when he comes out, he's going to have that little limp going.
Yeah, maybe holding his ribs a little bit. That's kind of the Roman Reigns sell. He kind of holds the one rib, yeah.
The little limp. And a little balled up fist holding the ribs, right? That's the move. And then he's gonna limp onto the ring.
I love when they do the tape over the gear type thing. When you have hurt ribs, they tape over the gear.
Yes, with the little balled up fist holding the ribs, and he's gonna be limping down there. And Michael Cole is gonna be screaming about how tough this man is, and you can't stop him. And he's gonna get in there with one leg and broken ribs, and he's gonna throw Braun Strowman out of there, and he's gonna fucking throw. Whoever the fuck, Cesaro, and he's going to win the match because he's winning the match, okay? But you're absolutely right. He is getting stretchered out, and he's limping out when that song hits, but like 10 seconds into the song, not when he usually comes out.
Yeah, they'll have a little bit of doubt. Oh, that must have been Roman Reigns' number, but he's not coming out after the attack we saw earlier from King Corbin and his court or whatever. And then, oh my God, I can't believe it.
Yeah. It's the big dog. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So there you go. No need to even watch a Royal Rumble. We already booked it for you.
Shit, do something else with your Sunday, man. I'm sure some college basketball games on.
Oh, God. Raw Women's Championship here. Becky Lynch versus Asuka.
Wait, there's more matches?
3 more matches, Joe.
What else? Because I couldn't care less. What else after that?
There's a strap match, Joe, for the WWE Universal Championship. The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan. Let's go.
What? Oh, yeah, they're doing the contract signing on Friday, right? Yes. Yeah.
The Fiend is going to be at a contract signing. I love it.
I know.
There's going to be a table, and it's going to be like, all red or whatever. It's going to walk down and sit in a chair and sign a contract.
But who's coming out? Bray might come out in the red sweater.
That's true.
And
You're right.
And wave a lot, right? And maybe the fucking Rabbit will be there, and because I can't imagine the Fiend is going to come out and fucking take a pen and put it to paper, right? So it's probably going to be Bray, right? Maybe I think I just booked this one, Rich.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Let's do it.
Maybe it'll be Bray that comes out to sign the contract, and then Daniel Bryan will beat the Fiend, but the Bray signed the contract. So Daniel Bryan won't win the title because he didn't beat the man who signed the contract.
Okay. Yeah, or the Fiend will just beat his ass on Sunday and drag him to hell or something like that. So
that's actually
the ring is. There's definitely gonna be a hole in the ring, and he's gonna drag him in with the strap, and they're gonna go, "Oh my God!" Absolutely. Or and then that'll be it. So
yeah, he'll probably just beat him. You're right. Yeah, because he's the Rumble challenger. He's like Bob Holly in this scenario, right?
Right.
Or do they do that anymore? Like that used to be the deal.
Yeah, where you have some like random guy challenge the champion because it didn't matter because the Rumble was the draw. Yeah, kind of. That's kind of where Daniel Bryan's at these days. Yeah, he's kind of Bob Holly. So.
Man,
he got the buzz cut just like Bob Holly too. So
that's just been a steady stream of dream matches since he's returned.
Oh my God, the Gargano match. Who could forget that one? That was fantastic. The Ricochet match.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
How about that long feud with Andrade that we were all
God, it made both those guys better. I mean, Andrade's better off for it, and Daniel Bryan's better off for it. Yeah.
Yeah, our match of the year poll is being dominated by Daniel Bryan matches. Just a constant stream of dream matches that everyone told us we were going to get. Has Daniel Bryan appeared? Well, the Kofi match.
The Kofi match,
So,
the Kofi match is pretty hot.
The Kofi match is doing pretty well, but outside of that, does he have a single match that's appeared yet?
I can tell you right now, I don't think so off the top of my head, but I will find that out for you right now as we're doing this. But what do you think?
There's no chance. There's no way. What other match?
Exactly, there hasn't been another one, but I'll make sure that there's not somebody who voted for something weird. But this is pretty fascinating here. Daniel Bryan is sick of the Fiend running away, so he decided he's gonna be attached to him in a strap match. So,
all right,
cool. Cool.
Makes sense on paper.
Literally one of the worst stipulations ever. By the way, like they're never good. There's and some people will say, oh, there's this one, or like people give me one or two examples. Yes, but there's 75 other examples of strap matches not being good. They stink. They're terrible. So.
Yeah, they might have worked in front of, simpleton fucking territory crowds in 1979, but it's just, we've evolved past the strap match.
It does not look like any non-Kofi matches yet appearing for one Daniel Bryan. So despite, in light of the numerous dream matches, no, he is not.
Wow, that's surprising because I was told that he was going to be in a constant, endless stream of dream matches upon his re-signing with the company. That would certainly outdo anything he could do out there on his own as a freelancer. Rich, there was,
when he's scraping together pennies, on the independents, though. That's the only problem.
Exactly. Having great matches as a freelancer, but also not being able to feed his child because he isn't already a millionaire. Right. That was the idea behind that. And also, he was apparently going to work these matches for free and not for an exorbitant rate that he could charge. Like that man could have charged whatever the fuck he wanted and gotten it from Chris Jericho. How much is he making per match in New Japan? Isn't he making like six figures?
I thought
match?
So. Yeah, I thought it was somewhere around 150 or 250. I forget. Yeah, but
he's making and you're telling me people were
scraping together pennies.
People were honest to God making the argument that Daniel Bryan wouldn't make any money if he left WWE.
Right, begging for nachos at a Ring of Honor show so that he could eat,
He's going to wrestle for a handshake and a hot dog, or he's
vegan, though. That's the worst part. He couldn't even have the hot dog. So that'd be, think, is he still, I don't know if he's still vegan or not, but he'd have to eat like the pretzel, like a hard pretzel. That wouldn't.
Why wouldn't he be vegan anymore?
I think he stopped after a while. I don't know if he went back to it, but there was a point where he stopped. So.
Yeah, a lot of people can't hang with that. It's a rough life because even if you're like him, right? Someone with his means, like a lot of problems with the vegans is they have problem finding food. With his means, it wouldn't be a problem, but the problem is physically it kicks your ass with a lot of people, which is why they stop. But nobody cares. What else?
Nobody cares. Yeah. So then we're now to the men's Royal Rumble, Joe. Okay. Ready to do the odds for these ones? We can go pretty quick. A lot of these people are not going to matter or count or whatever, but...
Jeez, okay, let's do it.
All right, so I will start with Brock Lesnar because he enters at number 1. He is entering the match at number 1, announced on Raw, January 6th, 2020. What are your odds for Brock Lesnar?
Well, you wouldn't think he's winning, but you can never discount Brock Lesnar, right?
You say Reigns is your favorite.
2-1.
I would say 2-1. Yeah, that's pretty good. Like I think he's... If it's not Reigns, it's Brock. I think it's one of those two guys, for sure. I don't know anybody else. Like, nobody else really jumps out at me. And the Brock thing, like, again, it's weird, but it's like, again, you can't discount him. Like, I had a friend the other day who texted me and said, would it totally surprise you if Brock entered number 1 and eliminated everybody by himself? And I said, no, it really wouldn't. If, like, every guy came out and Brock just tossed him out and then Brock just won.
I would love that.
I mean, that would be... I said, no, and I said, actually, I hope that happens. That sounds incredible. Like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then, like, Ricochet comes in, it's like, burr, 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 burr. They're like, oh, wrestling's real-life superstar Ricochet, and then he's burr, and then, like, Brock just fucking clotheslines him out of the ring and waits for the next guy to come out, yeah.
Do his song again.
That's it, yeah.
Do his song again. You forgot the fucking bullet in the beginning.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Then the song.
It's wrestling's real life superstar Ricochet.
Brock throwing everyone out and winning as number 1 would be fucking phenomenal.
And like nobody else gets a chance to even be in the ring either. Like he's in the ring. No. You know, Tucker comes out and he just hits him, and Tucker just flies out of the ring. It's like, oh, all right, well, maybe the next guy, and it's, you know, fucking Bobby Lashley, and then he just boom, oh no, he's out. And it's like, all right,
Tucker, Tucker. Oh my god, I don't know why you put that in my brain because now I want it. But I think the more likely scenario,
not even my buddy just out of nowhere was like, hey, what's the chances of that happening? I think he was joking, but then I also was like, dude, like not only like I really do think that he could go all the way here, and that they maybe do something weird where they announce another, you know, person or they have, you know, whatever the next pay-per-view is, they have that for the title. Like it's Brock, so you can't bet against anything with Brock.
You can't discount him. I wouldn't bet on him, but because the odds won't be long enough, but you can't discount him. I think Roman wins and faces the Fiend, and Brock gets thrown out of this match by whoever he's facing.
Right. Which I think they maybe tipped off a little bit, but Cain Velasquez, I believe, is going to be a surprise entrant here. So
people, you know, there's people who insist that Kane Brock is not the Mania match, but it probably changes 900 times a day.
Right.
So I saw someone lay out a scenario where Cena is a surprise and he throws out Brock. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be good. I guess I'd be all right with that.
I got no problem with that. But I'd much rather see Brock enter as number 1 and just completely decimate everyone one by one.
Nobody else gets in the ring for more than 12 seconds. Yeah.
No. Yeah. He just throws them out and stands there and does that little Brock hop for the final 30 seconds before the next guy comes every time. And
the only guy is Reigns, who comes out and gets like a one Superman punch on him. Looks like he's about to toss him out, and then Brock just turns it around and tosses him out of the ring and wins the match.
Yeah, Reigns is number 30, and
right.
Yeah, he comes in limping with his ribs, and Brock grabs him by his fucking wet head of hair and tosses him out of there too. I would fucking love that. I can't believe you put this in my head.
I'm sorry.
It's going to be so disappointing when this doesn't happen. Okay, so Brock, I'm going to put a 2-1. You cannot discount him.
2-1. All right. Announced on WWE's Instagram story, January 22nd.
Oh,
Joe,
come on.
R-Truth is in this match.
Come on. 10,000 to 1.
10,000 to 1. Announced by Kofi Kingston on WWE's The Bump. Kofi Kingston and Big E Langston are in the Men's Royal Rumble.
Kofi is 1,000 to 1. Big E is 5,000 to 1.
So I got a little bit of trivia for you, Joe. How many all-time eliminations does Big E Langston have in a Royal Rumble match? Yes, I brought back the last name. Yes,
0.
Okay, well, have you been listening to the Rumble Rewinds then?
No, I just figured that the way you framed the question, it was probably going to be that he never does anything well. So that's
smart of you. Yeah, he has 0 eliminations. He's been in 5 Royal Rumbles, 0 eliminations ever. So.
I'm sure he throws pancakes around.
Exactly. Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe from Raw all announced for the Royal Rumble match.
All right. Seth, they seem to be going to different 50 to 1. Samoa Joe, 100 to 1, and Kevin Owens, 50 to 1.
Yeah, I don't think any of those guys have any chance whatsoever. Yeah, they're all in different stories, and yeah, I don't know.
You can't give them crazy ass odds though, because like it's Seth Rollins, so you can't be like completely write them off. But yeah, they're not winning.
Braun Strowman, Shinsuke Nakamura from SmackDown, also in the Royal Rumble.
Nakamura's 10,000 to 1.
He
Braun
won last year. That's the best part.
Did he really?
Yes.
That was last year.
I think so, right?
No, it was the year before.
It Orton? Was it Orton that won last year?
Yeah, Nakamura was the year before. That wasn't last year.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure.
2018, yeah, the 2018 Rumble. Yeah, that's fine. I was like, in my brain, I was like, my God, what a year. Guys, yeah, sorry, he won the 2018 Royal Rumble. So.
And Braun, he's like 500 to 1 or something. None of these assholes.
Yeah, they're not doing anything with Braun right now. So yeah, on that level. Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy, Bobby Lashley, Rusev, also in the Royal Rumble.
All of those men are 200 to 1.
Okay, not bad, not bad.
It's so low effort at this point.
Yeah, who cares? Yeah, Otis and Tucker.
Oh, 10,000. The highest I'm going
100,000 to 1. Yeah.
Yeah. Otis. You might have to go higher than 10,000. You're right. I'll go 100,000 to 1 on Tucker and Otis.
Otis is a good prop bet to be the first guy out. You know, he does something stupid, or he's distracted by Mandy Rose's ass or something like that, and he just immediately is tossed out or something like that. So,
hey, as the great Joe Benengo used to say, and you have no idea who that is, from your lips to God's ears. Okay, I would love to see that.
Elias and King Corbin are also in this match.
Yeah.
You can never
Elias,
discount King Corbin though with Vince McMahon.
No, you can't. You can't. Elias is 10,000 to 1 and Corbin's 50 to 1.
Yeah, there you go. Also announced Dolph Ziggler. Joe, another trivia question for you. How many Royal Rumbles has Dolph Ziggler been in?
17.
It's pretty close. It's actually 11. This will be his 12th.
Wow. Yeah, I believe it.
And so that, just to give you an idea of where that ranks all time, Kane is first with 18. No one's going to touch Kane. That's when you add in all the Isaac Yankums and fake diesels and all that sort of shit. Dolph Ziggler this year will jump into a tie for second place in all-time Rumble appearances. But the problem, though, is he will also be doing that with The Miz and Kofi Kingston, who all also have 11 as well.
Good God, The Miz has been in 12 of these fucking
So
11
Miz, Dolph Ziggler, and Kofi Kingston have all will, after Sunday, have been in 12 Royal Rumbles. That's the same amount as Shawn Michaels, Goldust, and Big Show.
The Miz is in this?
Yes. Oh, I don't know if he's in this yet. He's not. No, I guess he's not listed yet, but I don't know.
Fuck him.
I figure he might find his way in there. So, but at least Dolph and Kofi will move up to a tie for second place all time in Rumble appearances. So,
all right. Is Kofi going to do the dopey gimmick?
Oh, absolutely. Come on. Are you kidding? Oh, my God. He's on a chair. Oh, my God. He's balancing on those ring steps. It's hilarious.
Hey, are you like me? Do you root for him to fall and fucking
Yes.
up?
Oh, every time. Every time I hope that, like, he's on the guardrail and he slips and he falls and they're like, oh, fuck. Like, that was...
Yeah. Well, he often gets thrown out immediately anyway.
Yeah, he'll jump back in the apron and then Brock will fucking, clothesline him off to the, into the crowd or something. Yeah.
I think that's to guard against him fucking one of them stunts up, because then it's like, well, he doesn't have an important role moving forward anyway,
right.
But I would love to see him screw one up. I mean, he's done enough of them, right? So I'd like to see him fuck one, but I don't know.
John Morrison's back in the company too. He's not announced at this Royal Rumble, but they could always slip him into that role too, because he was the originator, I believe, of the wild, like, not eliminated elimination thing.
Oh, did he do that? He did
the first, I want to say I was watching the 2005 Royal Rumble, and he got knocked out and then like did like a kind of like a spider monkey, like got onto like the apron and did his park, because that's when they were like, oh, he's the master of parkour. Like it's
parkour. Yeah,
it's John Morrison, the master of parkour. You might have been Johnny Nitro still at that time. I don't know what the hell it was, but yeah, he was the first one that did it, and then Kofi kind of took it over from there. So
yeah. All right, who else is in this damn thing?
All right, so I'm just going to go real quick over these names. Drew McIntyre, Ricochet, Rey Mysterio.
Drew McIntyre, 10 to 1.
Yeah, I would say Drew's pretty high. Like, of the guys, that, like, I think it's going to be either Reigns or Lesnar, but I think Drew's probably my third option for sure in this.
Ricochet, like, I don't know, 1,000 to 1 or something. He's not doing anything. And who's the other guy? Rey?
Rey, yeah, no way.
And he's not winning either, 500 to 1.
Randy Orton, Eric Rowan.
Orton, you can never discount. Go 30 to 1. Eric Rowan, 10,000 to 1.
And then AJ Styles, their last guy here.
100 to 1.
Did you make odds for Reigns yet? I forgot if I gave you the Reigns one. But
1 to 2.
Ooh, like okay. So your favorites: Roman Reigns 1 to 2, and Charlotte Flair 1 to 2 are your favorites. And then just to review, I think Brock was 2 to 1, correct?
2 to 1, yeah.
And then Drew McIntyre was 10 to 1.
Yeah. I think that was
so. Those are our favorites, and then I don't think you gave any other favorites in the women's match. So.
Yeah.
I think the next closest was Alexa Bliss at 1,000 to 1 or something. So
something like that. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, maybe 100 to 1. Maybe I said I don't know. Yeah. But yeah.
Oh God. All right. Well, that is it's the Royal Rumble 2020, Minute Maid Park, Houston, Texas, this Sunday. We have a preview right now at voiceofwrestling.com. Also reviews.
A lot of fun. I wish it wasn't so long, because, like you said, you got to sit there the whole time because you don't know when the matches are coming.
Right, and any Rumble's fine. Like, even the worst, like, that Women's Rumble last year was horrendous, but most Royal Rumbles are, like, fine. Like,
it's hard.
Yeah, so I have high hopes
Twitter
for it.
experience, too.
Yeah, it's great.
It's one of the few times Twitter is tolerable during a Rumble, Unless your feed is, like, 8 seconds behind, because then you never get surprised.
All right, let's get to the final show here of the weekend. This one's going on Friday. It's NWA Hard Times. from the GPB Studios, January 24th, 2020. By the way, when you're listening to this, what going on the night of this getting released. So if you're checking that out, Fight TV is going to air it live as well if you want to check that out there. But we have a preview as well at voiceofwrestling.com if you want to check that out. Steve Case did a really, really good preview of this. And Joe, I'm pretty excited about this show. I can't wait. I people can say whatever they want about, the weekly NWA TV and all this sort of stuff, and it's boring. Oh, it's this. Like, it is bar none my favorite weekly TV show every single week. It is an hour. It's an easy watch. I feel like I could just put it on in the background. Everything makes sense. Like, I'll defend NWA again. I do it every single time we talk about these pay-per-views. I do it every week we talk about it, NWA. But I think it's a great TV show. I love the NWA.
Yeah, there's some booking inconsistencies and stuff, some minor things. But I thought season 2 was much better than season 1. I think the build to this pay-per-view was better and more focused. And I think that the pay-per-view itself on paper is way better than the Into the Fire pay-per-view was on paper coming in. So much stronger season, much better focus, none of the Jim Cornette nonsense. So I thought season 2 was an improvement. Yeah,
there feels like there's less weight to every single episode. Like, the problem with the Cornette thing is, like, what is Cornette going to say this week? Like, what did Cornette get mad about in wrestling this week? And, like, all that's gone now. It's just a pro wrestling show, and no one's bigger than the show. Everyone's just all working towards the same goal, and it's very refreshing. Very, very refreshing to not have to deal with that bullshit. So,
yeah, it's an easy watch, and I thought most of the episodes season 2 were really good. We talked about the one a couple weeks ago, and this last one, which I think was a special, 80 minutes or 90 minutes or something this past week.
Okay, so it wasn't just me. I was watching. I'm like, man, this show keeps on going. Like, what the hell? That makes sense. Like, halfway through, I was like, what the fuck? This feels like it's been way longer than an hour, but...
No, it was longer than usual. And, the only thing that dragged was the Aaron Stevens segment that ended with Starks pulling off the mask.
Yeah, that dragged for sure. Yeah, that went about 15 minutes longer than it needed to, but that's all right.
They could have got to that payoff in literally half the time. But... everything else, I mean, the Ricky Morton stuff. Ricky Morton has become a very effective promo, which I don't think anyone thought in 1986. But and it's been a much stronger season, and the pay-per-view has been well built. And now with Marty Scurll repairing the relationship with Ring of Honor, that's going to play into the pay-per-view a bit, and with things moving forward. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this much more than I was looking forward to Into the Fire. And then Into the Fire, I didn't really like. I know you liked it a little better than I did, but I would be stunned if this show doesn't end up being better than Into the Fire and more along the lines of the previous NWA pay-per-views, the Crockett Cup and the 70th anniversary, which were legitimately good shows. They weren't great shows, but they were good shows. And I didn't think Into the Fire was even a good show. I think this has a chance to be a good show.
It was 11 matches, so I think a lot of them are going to be kept short. So it's going to feel a little bit more like an NWA show.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree, because it's going to be a lot of 5-minute matches, which is perfectly fine. Like I like, and that's the thing that NWA. That's the reason I like the TV a lot too, because it doesn't try to be anything it's not. Like the main event is 10 minutes maybe, or 8 minutes or whatever. Then they have other matches like 2 minutes, and that's exactly what TV wrestling needs to be. I don't need 20-minute back and forth TV wrestling matches unless it's a main event and it's been well built or whatever. So yeah, I like it. And yeah, this is what this card's going to be. I mean, you have 4 first round matches in the World Television Title tournament. First one, Tim Storm versus Ken Anderson. I'll just go over them all real quick and kind of talk about them. Ricky Starks versus Matt Cross, Zicky Dice versus Dan Maff, and the Question Mark versus Trevor Murdoch.
Yeah, I mean, the tournament qualifiers were all a lot of fun over the course of the season, and then the 2 mystery wrestlers turned out to be Matt Cross, which came out of nowhere. I'll take that, and Dan Maff, which comes through the ROH connection. So 2 nice additions. You figure one of them will win. I can't imagine they knock Starks out in the first round.
I think Maff beats
Zicky Dice.
Yeah, for sure.
Dice has kind of gotten a TV push too, though, so it's interesting. Maybe they do beat both of the surprise guys. I don't know. But yeah, I thought the 2 surprise guys worked out nicely. They weren't just rehashed, mid-level fucking X-Impact guys, which you're always in fear of with this group. So, and yeah, I think these tournament matches will all be quick, tidy, and to the point, like you were saying.
Do you have any favorites to win the entire tournament? I think Ricky Starks is obviously one guy that you have to, when you talk about momentum coming out of season 1, going into season 2, momentum leading through this entire season, I think Ricky Starks is absolutely a guy that I would put on that list. And I would really put him maybe above all these other guys. Like, I think they're doing something with Ken Anderson right now, so that like there's a possibility of him too, because he's kind of like becoming unhinged, and that's sort of the angle they're doing with him. So I could see Anderson, I could see Starks. I don't really see a story for anybody else. The question mark, I think, would be a really bad decision. Trevor Murdoch, I don't think there's a ton there. Moff, probably not, obviously, because he's going to go back to Ring of Honor. Matt Cross is obviously just here as a surprise, and I don't think it works for Tim Storm either. I think like there's a way to do it with Tim Storm, but I think it's just kind of like, it'd be more sad than anything, because it's like, oh yeah, this guy used to be the world champion, now he's the TV champion. So I'm really left with Starks and Anderson as like the final two guys that I think have a chance of doing it, but they're going to face off in the semifinals, and that'll be a huge potentially if Tim Storm beats, or loses to Ken Anderson. But those are the two guys that I probably put as the favorites, but I don't know if maybe you have a different pick.
I wouldn't entirely write Storm off, though, because he can't challenge for the world title anymore. That's
true. Right.
So maybe, but yeah, I agree with most of your other assessments. I think Zicky Dice has a chance. I really do. And obviously Starks, I'd probably put him as the favorite, because they gave him kind of that spot with Nick Aldis where he got that elevation by going all the way with Aldis. And honestly, it feels to me like the long-term plan is Starks versus Aldis at some point, with the way that all played out. And Aldis giving him the vote of confidence and then going all the way in the match. And maybe that would make sense why they didn't put the national title on Starks at Into the Fire, because they knew they were rolling out this TV title, which they would then put on him. So I don't know. But then again, he attacked Aaron Stevens on the Go Home show, so maybe the plan is for him to eventually win the national title from Stevens. So it's hard to say.
Right, yeah. And there also is the possibility, too, that if Question Mark makes it all the way to the finals, that they're on different sides of the tournament, so they could face each other off.
So right.
And that's where I saw that on that show, and I was like, that's probably a pretty good story, that Starks beats Question Mark, and then maybe, despite being TV champion, starts going at Aaron Stevens, and then however you want to do that. Down the line, but I think that keeps that story kind of together. But I don't know. Like, I don't have a really, really good read for it, but I think Starks is probably the guy that I would pick for sure. But
he'd have to be the favorite going in, I think.
Other matches: Rock and Roll Express versus James Storm, Eli Drake, and the Wild Card, Simon Lattimore and Royce Isaacs, for the NWA World Tag Team titles. You assume this is finally the point where the Rock and Roll lose, right? Or are they kind of going with this a little bit longer?
You would think. I mean, I was surprised they retained it Into the Fire. So you got another season out of them with the Ricky Morton thing, but it's probably time to take it off of them. But who knows? I just hate that they're doing a three-way. I don't like three-ways in the NWA. It to me it doesn't fit the aesthetic, and I wish they would stay away from them.
Dealing with dog barking here, but I think they've stopped for a second. Yeah, I'm right with you. I don't love the NWA being defended in a three-way. That just seems icky. You know what I mean? Like that. No, it's the NWA, man. Like, I thought the same thing when I saw that they announced a three-way. I was like, oh, just take the wild cards out of it or something, or just take Storm and Eli. Yeah, I don't like a triple threat.
It's shoehorning everyone onto the show. And
right.
And it doesn't feel right for the tone of the promotion to have three-ways. So that's my main takeaway there, more so than whether Rock and Roll Express will drop them yet. I think that they will. I think they're going to drop them every time they defend them, honestly. So we'll see.
Three matches I'm really looking forward to, the final three here. Aaron Stevens defending the national championship against Scott Steiner.
It'll be comedy. The Stevens stuff doesn't really land with me, but this will be your comedy relief on the show.
The thing with where I put the Aaron Stevens stuff is it's always funny for like 5 minutes, and then it goes 10 minutes longer than it needs to.
Yeah, it's an SNL skit that goes further than that outlives its welcome.
Yeah, because that's like, even the karate thing the other day, I was like, this is kind of funny. And I was like, all right, okay, I get it, man. All right. like every 2 minutes, I kept being like, oh, okay, to the point where I fucking hated it when it was done. But yeah, at the beginning, I was like, oh, okay, this is all right. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, and the Steiner stuff is like all kind of fun and cute or whatever. But like, I'm still looking forward to it because I think it'll be kept very, very short, and it'll at least have something interesting that'll probably happen to it. But
you just said they're funny for 5 minutes and they always go too long, and you said this will be kept very short.
I think it will be. No, I think like Aaron Stevens, everything goes too long. But I don't know how long Scott Steiner can be in a wrestling match anymore without his body exploding.
Prepare for an 18-minute match now.
Fuck.
That was the kick
I know.
Yeah.
I just don't think. I just don't think Steiner can do cardio for more than a minute. But maybe we'll see. Final two matches here. Allison Kay defending the NWA World Women's Championship against Thunder Rosa.
They've gotten a lot of time on the TV, and Thunder Rosa is unquestionably the best women's wrestler on their roster.
Yeah, she's awesome.
So I'd like to see her win the title, honestly. It feels like it's time anyway.
And then our main event here, NWA versus ROH interpromotional match, Nick Aldis versus Flip Gordon. So this is, I'm not loving the build here, but I think it'll be a pretty interesting match, and it's a good sort of what I think is the beginning of a long-term, NWA versus Ring of Honor story. But yeah, it seems a little weird and a little forced together as the main event already, but it's something that you book if you have the opportunity to book it for sure.
Well, more importantly, it's Nick Aldis versus Villain Enterprises.
Right.
That's the big key.
Exactly. So Flip's just kind of a conduit to the bigger picture.
Exactly. So this will be something that advances the bigger picture storyline with Marty Scurll. So it's good to see Flip on this show. So that's the deal there. So you really, Nick Aldis isn't going to, I don't even know if it's, is it officially a title match?
It is not a title match. It is just NWA versus ROH. So
right. So, I mean, they're not even working under the pretense that it's a title match, which I like actually. And it's just, the whole deal here is, what storyline comes out of this? Marty Scurll's obviously going to be there, and we'll see where we go from there. And I really thought they would do the Scurll match at this pay-per-view, but there's obviously a longer play to be had here. So,
which is cool. I like that. I like the idea that it lets you know that this relationship, at least for now, is pretty strong, and that's good. Like, you have a match that this Flip, like I said, begins the interpromotional war between these two, quote unquote war or whatever. But then, you're building to, you have more time now build to the Marty and Nick. You have Nick show up on ROH. You have Marty show up on NWA. Like, that is, I love this sort of shit too. This is why we said a few weeks ago that like Marty signing with ROH is the best news for everybody, because it's made the NWA more interesting. It's made Ring of Honor more interesting. And I think by proxy, it's made a lot of other companies way more interesting than if Marty just showed up on AEW and he's just another member of the elite. Like, that's kind of boring to me. So I love this.
Yeah.
Because it's more companies now are benefiting by Marty not joining the company. So.
Yep, ripple effects throughout the whole industry, and it's good. It is good. And I thought Marty would be all over the tapings, and he wasn't. And then they would have their match at this pay-per-view, and they're not. So they really threw a curveball there. All he really did was that sit-down interview, which they just released on YouTube this week. I think it's long. It's like 20 minutes or something. I haven't watched it yet. I was planning on watching it tonight, but and that's, he didn't work any matches. He didn't even come out to cut promos. He just showed up Into the Fire, cut a sit-down interview, and has been, just spoken about on the periphery. So they're really slow playing it. They're really
little stuff where like his videos getting intercut with some stuff.
Yes,
here where he's interrupting the signal.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I'm glad they're slow playing it, because you really want to milk this. In hindsight, it would have been kind of dumb to burn off all this Scurll this quickly. So, they can do a longer play to this and peak it, and maybe even run that match outside of that tiny building in Atlanta.
Right.
That might be a match that's too big for that, where you can draw 1,000 people or something, because the Crockett Cup show and the 70th anniversary both drew 4 figures. Well, the 70th anniversary definitely did. I don't remember Crockett Cup, but they both drew really good crowds. So you have the right match, and that was with Cody and obviously Scurll. It was Scurll Aldis on one of those shows, and it was Cody Aldis on the other. I mean, Scurll Aldis can, you don't want to do that show in that little studio. So we weren't I don't think we thought that out very well at the time. But then again, Marty's future was up in the air at the time too, and all that. But this is smart. Yeah, they can long play this and really build towards a big pay-per-view for that match, because that match will be big.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and if all things go well, that's one big show later in the summer that you can definitely do. So
yeah.
All right, I think that is it for us. So that was a busy wrestling weekend here. We have Worlds Collide, obviously, as I said. We have a preview up at voiceswrestling.com, Royal Rumble, preview up at voiceswrestling.com as well. And wouldn't you know it, NWA Hard Times, a preview up at voicesofwrestling.com. We'll have reviews of all 3 of those shows as well. We mentioned the premium side, voiceofwrestling.com/Patreon. Joe's Thursday tier reviews just dropped minutes before we recorded here, so that is available for you guys right now as well. Get in the mood for the Royal Rumble with my Rumble Rewind series, going back and looking at 10 random Royal Rumbles, so that's a good thing to jump onto. And Joe mentioned the TV, or the YouTube reviews, I should say, as well. Some written reviews there for only $1. So $1 gets you in the door, $5 gets you all the premium content that we do as well. Unlocks everything we've done for all these years that we've had. Well, 2 years now. We've had there 1 year. How long have we had the Patreon for? Has it been 2?
This is December 2017. So all of 2018, all of 2019.
There you go. Wow. So there you go. You got plenty of
No,
stuff.
that might be wrong. Maybe December 2018. And
I don't think so. I think maybe you're right.
December,
maybe,
I can't remember either. I'm
it's
trying to
think. You got a lot of content. $5 gets you a lot of fucking content. There you go.
I'm trying to think of filing the taxes, how I've gotten fucking destroyed how many years in a row.
Yeah, that's...
No, I think it's 2 full years, and this is the 3rd full year, I believe. Oh wow, Jesus Christ, does time fly?
It really does. Yeah, I think I noticed that the other day, and I was just like, holy shit. Yeah, I was trying to remember all the series that I had done. Yeah.
Oh, it's got to be, because I've done 2 years worth of G1, so it's got to be 2 full years.
Right.
Fuck. Yeah. I got breaking news.
What do you got?
You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Serena Williams upset by Wang Quang in 3 sets during the Australian Open.
I wish we hadn't run out of time on the show. I'd love to talk about, what was her name? Wang Zhang?
Wang Qiang? Qiang?
I don't know.
I'm a master linguist, but I don't do well with the is that Chinese name? I don't even know what that is. Chinese?
Wang? Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, that sounds Chinese, but
Wang Qiang?
I imagine that is a big upset in the tennis world. You're more the tennis guy than I am, so.
That's Serena's earliest upset in a major since 2006.
Wow.
Well, in Australia anyway. Why are we?
There's a lot of qualifiers.
That's really not much of a fact.
Because I thought she lost to didn't she lose to the 200th ranked person in the world last year?
Not in Australia.
Well, I know it wasn't in Australia. I'm saying the qualifiers are a little weird on this Australia thing.
This is a tennis show. Yeah, it's the Australian Open they're talking about here with Serena.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not that big of an upset if she lost to the number 200 girl last year, No,
but not in the Australian Open. She lost to that girl in the... She lost to that other American, the young American. She's 16. She beat her. I can't remember her name. Madison Keys still on the scene?
I don't know. Pete Sampras still?
No. Pete Sampras. Retired 10 years ago. What are you talking?
Agassi's done too, right? Yeah.
The hell's wrong with you? He's 50.
He's very old. Who's the guy in the 80s? There was a good tennis guy in the 80s that I'm blanking on.
There's a lot of good tennis guys in the 80s. McEnroe, Connors.
Jim Courier is the guy I was thinking of.
Jim Courier with the red hair.
Yeah, he's I assume no longer active.
He's 60.
I was going to say he's probably pretty old.
Did you know he's a Cincinnati Reds season ticket holder?
Is he really? There you go. Nice.
So is Andy Roddick.
Wow.
Another tennis player. And Kirk Herbstreit. Big Reds fan.
Okay, I buy that. I'm having a tough time with the Jim Courier. Is he from that area or?
Swear to God. Well, I would assume. I'm not. I'm a Reds fan, so who knows?
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, but Andy Roddick always at the games. Kirk Herbstreit always at the games until August rolls around. He's got to go to do the dopey college football.
Yeah.
But all summer long at the games. And then
he's Ohio through his blood, so that's it looks like. So right. I'm looking at Jim Courier here. He was born in 1970 in Florida, but he came into he's probably just a Big Red Machine fan and similar to you.
Probably. It would make sense. I don't remember the Big Red Machine. I was born after the Big Red Machine. Jeez.
Who's your favorite member of the Big Red Machine, Joe?
Well, Dave Concepcion, if you're really He's my favorite player growing up, but he played until 87.
That's true. Yeah, he was an old fart. So
he was kicking around. He got replaced by Larkin. So, he was still putting up -2 WAR seasons when he was 40 years old.
Right.
But those teams stunk anyway. But I do not remember the Big Red Machine.
Cesar Geronimo fan, no.
Great center fielder, good defensive player.
Tony Perez.
Tony Perez, absolutely. Yeah. Go around the horn. Johnny Bench. Joe Morgan, second base.
Yeah.
Concepcion, Perez.
The one guy I always forget, and it's not Ken Griffey Sr. I know Ken Griffey Sr. Who's the other
George
guy?
Foster.
That's it, George Foster. I always forget George Foster. So.
George Foster, who 50 home runs. It's a big time. He's the sneaky. You look at those, other than Joe Morgan, obviously, who was, a fucking 12 WAR player or whatever the fuck. during those years. People don't realize how good Joe Morgan was. That guy was just otherworldly. George Foster was a better offensive player in a lot of those years than your Tony Perez's and your Pete Rose's.
Yeah, didn't he win? He won an MVP one year too, right?
Yeah, he hit 52 home runs.
Yeah, 77. He had 52 home runs, 149 RBIs, 124 runs, slugging 630, OPS plus 165, MVP. There you go.
Yeah,
he was the runner-up the year prior, so there you go. Yeah, that's a good
probably to Morgan in 70.
Yeah, let's say 76. Yeah, he was.
Morgan was 75 and 76, and again he was like double-digit WAR both of those years. Joe Morgan was a ridiculously great baseball player, but who gets all the pub on those teams? Pete Rose and Johnny Bench. Right. Now look, Pete Rose and Johnny Bench were great players, but Joe Morgan was the best player on that team, and George Foster unquestionably was the best player in 77 on that team. So
there you go. All right, we are very much out of time now as we're talking big room.
This is so stupid. What are we doing?
I don't know what we're doing. We're tired. You've done like 8 hours of podcasts this day. Anyway, voicewrestling.com, voicewrestling.com/Patreon for all of our premium content. We'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.